under Un Ojo, who got a terrific ride and shocked the field in Saturday's Derby prep in the Rebel Stakes. All that and more coming up on this Sunday edition of America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Sun shining on a nice afternoon here in South Ozone Park. Greg Wolf alongside former champion jockey Richard Migliori, and we talk about that jockey title. And Dylan Davis, I know it would mean a lot to him. You speak with him a lot. He actually just added his 46th win of the meet, taking the 5th.
Yeah, putting a little bit of cushion between him and Trevor McCarthy, but there's still 12 racing days left. You've got Kendrick Carmouche looming right in behind them, riding in good form. Obviously, Trevor McCarthy riding in terrific form. Manny Franco kind of pulling into the shadow of the leaders as well. So always interesting when you've got a tight jockey race and you don't have just one dominant rider. You have 4 that are in contention.
We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll get into the late pick 4 coming up in just a moment. Let's take a look at today's action presented by Claiborne Farm. That late pick 4 begins with a 30 maiden claiming 1 turn mile. It's fast here in New York. Features that 7th, and at Oaklawn and Hot Springs, they are muddy on the Sunday card. Race 5 kicks off the late pick 5 and WW Fitzy. We will see in that allowance feature. Of course, you can play it all by getting signed up with Naira Bets. Download the app or go to nairabets.com. That's the offer, $200 deposit match sign-up bonus when you punch in that code, bonus 200. And bet any track, anywhere, anytime. We have a race coming up almost immediately here on the program. Third from Oaklawn, 6 furlongs. It's a $30,000 claiming race for non-winners of 3 lifetime. Colonel Bowman, Brad Cox, Ricardo Santana Jr. Look at his 4-year-old debut. Taking a big drop.
Yeah, big drop in class. Returns as a gelding. That's the biggest equipment change a horse could experience. And he just looks like he's well placed for an outfit that is just hitting on all cylinders.
Meanwhile, Big Thorn. Next door, there's John Court. Greg Compton, this one just claimed off of Steve Asmussen, was a beaten favorite at this same condition last start. And it was his first start back of his 4-year-old campaign.
Turning back in distance after showing high speed around 2 turns. He went 22 and 3, 45 and 4 around 2 turns. He shows that kind of speed going 6 furlongs. He's in the fray, and he certainly has a lot of foundation coming up for those longer races.
You got speed on the rail with Brad's time. It's Robertino Diodoro. Blinkers on a horse who already has speed. Does that make him dangerous here?
Well, he's, especially with the rail, Raylu Gutierrez, his rider, basically it simplifies things for him. He's got to use that speed, particularly you're adding the blinkers. It usually is an indication that they want to hone that speed even more. You have the rail. You don't want to give up that inside position. I would expect him to blast off from the inside.
He was forward last start, and it was at this level, and he had no ability to stick around late. We'll see if that's different today, second off the bench and with that equipment change. And there is David Cohen. He's going to team up with Steve Asmussen here. Just claim this horse out of a non-winners of 3 lifetime race.
It's just interesting watching
the
Steve.
7, excuse me.
Yeah, the 7 Marvin for Steve Asmussen. Steve, for years, Ricardo was his guy, rode the vast majority of horses. He's been moving it around quite a bit. I mean, Joel Rosario seems to have moved to the number 1 spot, but he's been using several different riders.
Yeah, used Tyler Gaffleone yesterday in the Rebel. Spreading the wealth. Third from Oaklawn. Colonel Bowman with a big drop for Brad Cox, the 2-horse. The one to beat on the board. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
They're at the post. They're off. Brad's time wins the break, goes to the front from Big Thorn and Marvin in the center. Deflators close up, turns in conditions in the center. Colonel Bowman is third last from Special Price and O-Dog. Up the backstretch with Brad's time and Big Thorn 1-2. Brad's time a neck in front. Big Thorn is second by a length and a half. 2 turns in conditions with Marvin just inside of him. Colonel Bowman is up to 5th now at the rail, and he's 2.5 off the lead and a length in front of Deflator. Special Price has 6 lengths to make up. Makeup. O-Dog inside of him. Brad's Time continues to lead, and he's sharp around the far turn. It is Brad's Time, a length in front of Big Thorn in a second. Then a lineup of 3. Colonel Bowman at the rail. Marvin between horses and turns and conditions to the outside. 3.5 back to Deflator, top of the stretch. Here's Big Thorn outside of Brad's Time. Brad's Time cuts the corner and leads. Big Thorn is second. Colonel Bowman is out for the drive, and here comes Colonel Bowman with 2 lengths to make up. Deflator is up at a 4th. Brad's Time and Colonel Bowman, it's down to these 2. Brad's Time is 16th out. Colonel Bowman alongside, and he might have him, and he does. Here's Colonel Bowman to the run to the front and win. Colonel Bowman beat Brad's Time. Big Thorn was 3rd, and Deflator finished 4th.
Hey, Brad's Time ran a much improved race. That speed held much further than it really has in a long time. Ever since he broke his maiden, in the end, Colonel Bowman runs him down.
Yeah, very formful kind of race. The way we thought it would play out on paper kind of played out on the racetrack. The one Brad's Time, the addition of blinkers, the rail. He went to the lead, wound up being second best to the drop down in Colonel Bowman, who got a nice, patient, and patented strong finishing ride from Ricardo Santana. And Big Thorn hung around pretty good, turning back in distance to be 3rd, but very logical result.
Ricardo Santana Jr. riding for a lot of trainers at this meet. That is something new. Won 9 of the last 10 riding titles, riding primarily for Steve Asmussen, and now he's right on top again, spreading it out.
I think it's a credit to him and not being discouraged, kind of losing the main seat, even though he's riding for Steve as well, and his agent. I mean, continually find live mounts for him and be alive now in several different stables. And you know what? I think there's something comforting for a rider when they're not so beholden to one stable, because your eggs are all in one basket. You lose that stable, you got to rebuild. Well, they've rebuilt, and now they're riding for everybody. So, trainers and owners get mad at you from time to time for a ride, and they might take you off some horses. It's not the end of the world if your risk is spread out amongst 7 different stables. And I think he's just much more rounded as far as his business goes now.
We'll have those prices for you coming up in just a little bit. We're going to unpack everything that happened, of course, in the big one yesterday in that Rebel feature, though, today, the 8th on the card. And we talked about W.W. Fitzy in the Open. Went gate to wire last time out. Got another one who likely wants to be on the front end right next door in Misty Vale. And then you have the Mary Rose on the rail, trained by John Ortiz. He's having a terrific Oaklawn, and he probably has a little bit of Derby fever right now, too. Let's go to Gary Stevens, our Hall of Famer.
Yeah, guys, John Ortiz has been on fire. He's hitting at 28% at this meet. 3rd yesterday in the Rebel Stakes with Barbara Road. This filly, the Mary Rose, she's going to be tough today. She won her race here at Oaklawn Park by 7.5 lengths. That was 2 back. Went to Sam Houston to run in the Houston Ladies Classic, where she didn't show up that day. She was on the lead. She backed up. But if she runs anything like what you're seeing right here, she won by 7.5 lengths that day. She was a good price. She was 15-1. She's 5-1 today. They're going to have to contend with her. John Ortiz is training today, guys.
Yeah, he's been a great story and relatively new on the scene. Thank you, Gary. And he does it a little bit differently, too. Everyone in his barn is on a salary, so they're not worried about having to do just certain jobs. He says, it's not my job. Those words don't exist in his barn.
That's interesting, and I think it would probably promote more of a team effort. Everybody's on the same page and has the same goals, and it's not an individual thing. I kind of like the concept.
And Barbara Road, he's got to be feeling really excited about this horse's prospects. Another huge finish late in that Rebel Stakes.
What you want to see, particularly prepping for the Kentucky Derby, horses that are showing the ability to finish and potentially get more distance.
We'll have that feature, the Mary Rose, for the John Ortiz barn. Going to have that inside post later this afternoon. That man has spent a lot of time in the winner's circle at Oaklawn. Probably take up permanent residence there. Ricardo Santana Jr. leading the way again, notches another win here.
Yeah, and just been riding terrific. And again, it could ruin a young rider's psyche, your confidence level when you lose a big mount like Echo Zulu, or you lose the majority of an outfit. Well, I tell you what, you can't say or have more respect for Ricardo Santana Jr. than the way he's handled the entire thing and continued to ride in fine form.
Back to New York. And the late pick 4 looks like it goes through this 4-year-old right here. Might as well run off a short layoff in his comeback race as a 4-year-old. dropped to the lowest level he'd ever run at. Ran the biggest number he's ever run. He got beat. He ran second. But if he can do that again, he maybe even improve a little. He's going to be ultra tough here for Jeremiah Engelhardt. Manny Franco, the Mount. We'll talk more about this field when we come back.
Eclipse champion Blaine ranks among the nation's top sires at a fraction of the price. His recent top runners include Aga Khan stud Saidabad, a top performer overseas, stakes winners Mandate, Officiating, Love the Nest, Dancing Kiki, and Blame JD. With success on the track and success in the ring, this proven son of Arch is truly a gold value stallion. Blaine, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Good to have you with us on this Sunday card. Program brought to you where you can play it all at Now We're Bets. Download the app, go to nowwe'rebets.com, and bet any track, anywhere, anytime, including chance to win a share of $3,000 bonus at Santa Anita in the Late Pick 5 today. Go to nowwe'rebets.com. You have to opt in to be part of the promo. Play the Late Pick 5 at Santa Anita. If your ticket hits, you win a share of that extra $3,000. Don't forget, you got to opt in. Again, field for the 6th here in New York. Start of the Pick 4. 30 maiden claiming race, 1 turn mile, and might as well run the one to beat here for Jeremiah Engelhardt, who you're looking at with more. Let's head downstairs to Maggie Wolfendale.
And Greg, that's where we'll begin here with Might As Well Run, your favorite. And he kind of maybe surprised some people as he ran a valuable second in his last race. He was against the racetrack. It was a day where you wanted to be speed, especially more so inside than anything else. And he was on that 2 to 3 wide chase behind the favored winner, Rock Sugar, who just dominated on the front end that day. And he looked great that day in the paddock. He looks great here once again. The one thing I can say that's a little different is he does show up wearing the front wraps, as he does drop by 10 grand in claiming price. I don't know if we're just playing the claiming game here, or is it something that we should, factor into him being the favorite here, and does that make him vulnerable to his inside? It's a horse that finished 3rd behind him, Lucky Brody. Now, I did notice that his rider that day dropped the crop. He didn't have the crop in the lane. Where he dropped it, I'm not sure, somewhere around the quarter pole possibly. I don't know if that had any bearing on the outcome of the race, because ultimately Lucky Brody spent the entire time down on the rail just behind those early pace setters. So he was very much with the racetrack, and he could only manage 3rd, beaten 4. So I much prefer Might As Well Run coming out of that effort between these two horses. especially when you look at them too in the paddock, where there's nothing wrong with Lucky Brody. Might As Well Run just looks like a better horse overall. Moving on to the inside, I'm very much on the fence with this horse, who should be a long shot. Was taking some early money, but number one, My Boy Colton. He gets on a fast track for the first time in quite a while. Now, I do think he is more of a turf horse at the end of the day, and furthermore, claiming off Jimmy Jerkins is not an easy thing to do. In fact, I think it's nearly impossible. I looked at the stat a while ago, to be fair, but there were no winners. It was like 0 for 18 horses claimed out of Jimmy Jerkins' barn, especially maidens that he couldn't get to win either. This horse looks fantastic, and he's very sharp in here, and he did contest a pace that eventually came apart, but he ran by far the worst of any of those horses that were on the front end. So they put a pair of short-cut cheater blinkers. He has that inside post. We'll see. Is he the fastest here once again? Can he run a bit better? He's obviously going to have to, but again, Greg, at the end of the day, he was a horse that should drift up in price, and he looks fantastic in the flesh.
All right, Maggie, thank you. We'll get to the post parade here coming up. Let's take a look at what this horse did in his 4-year-old debut. The 6 Might As Well Run, current 9-5 favorite in his 4-year-old debut when he dropped in for a claiming tag for the first time.
Yeah, coming off of a layoff on the hard chase. Maggie alluded to it. The day when you wanted to be towards the inside, he was basically just parked out, not very wide, but not on the rail. And
7-horse pink cap.
Yeah, he stayed on resolutely. He's second. You know, it looked like at one point he might kind of tire and even blow second, but he stayed on at a steady pace. I think there's other horses that come out of that race that are a little more interesting to me. The horse that was finishing best of all on the outside against the grain of the track was the 2 Flying with Angels, who didn't break particularly well and was wide throughout on an inside track. Gets a break in the weights with 7-pound apprentice Jose Gomez. So now, last time he carried 122 pounds, equal weights with your favorite, Might As Well Run. Because of the apprentice, he gets in with 115 today, 7-pound shift in weights.
Riders up. You see Eric Cancel and Jalen Samuel getting aboard their respective mounts here in our post parade coming up. Manny Franco will be on the favorite, 8-5 on the 6. Who you see, Might As Well Run, who had been competitive at Finger Lakes in maiden special weights, and takes again a little drop down again today further from 40 to 30 this afternoon. Here's My Boy Colton, rider change, Luis Castro, and blinkers gone.
Yeah, and a horse that should have speed. Again, we talk about speed from the inside. Simplifies things.
Flying with Angels, he was in that Might As Well Run race, and he was 4th, beat 5 lengths.
Yeah, beaten 5 lengths there, 3 lengths to your favorite, and I think the break in the weights and maybe a little bit of a different kind of racetrack help him.
Beckenbauer, big price, making his 5-year-old debut.
Probably a part of the pace. I don't see him sticking around very long, but could make things a little bit hot on the front end.
Raising Sand, Eric Cancel for Carlos Martin.
He'd like to see things get real hot on the front end because he's going to need help from a pace standpoint.
Lucky Brody, he was 3rd behind Might As Well Run when he was 2nd, 2 lengths behind him.
Yeah, I think Maggie made a great point. He got that inside run. How's he going to turn the tables without the benefit of the better trip?
Here is the favorite, 8-5, his 2nd start in claiming company.
Yeah, it came off of a bit of a layoff, ran extremely well, needs to back that up. We need to see some consistency there.
And a horse who has not shown a whole lot of ability in 3 starts, Battle Map.
No, he's going to have to really change it around, but he does return as a gelding, first-time gelding. Sometimes horses that don't pay attention or don't have good focus, gelding really helps them. He'll have to show me.
And it looks like he'll have to show most at that big number on the board. You can follow along on all the stats of the horses, trainers, and jockeys in today's action with free Equibase past performances. Go to NYRA.com/TV schedules to get yours for all the races on today's program. This race kicks off the late pick 4. Jonathan Kinchin, help us out.
Well, if the pick 6 or the pick 5 didn't go well for you, my favorite wager is the pick 4 because you can get your money back. I'm only using 2 horses off the top, and we'll talk about them in a second. I'm just going to use the 2 and the 6. Those are the only horses, in my opinion, that can win this race. Because of the structure of the ticket, I have to single the 8 secret rules we'll talk about a little bit later on, but I just feel like this horse drawn perfectly. I was on the bad part of the racetrack last time. I expect him to run much better here today. I'm going to spread in the third leg. As you can see, I don't have a strong opinion there. A lot of times I would tell people to skip to pick 4, play the double here, but I do have an opinion late that I wanted to make sure that I wrapped in the 3, 4, and the 9. The 3B bit I think is going to run well. Switching Barns, the 4 charge account, a horse I would typically try to beat off the last performance, but the barn change gives me a reason to think there could be a change in that animal, and maybe he'll run a little bit better. And then the 9, Nika Gold, I want to make sure I use as well to wrap it up. But as far as this race is concerned, I'm in agreement with the team and what they've kind of expressed. There is a biased racetrack you have to take into consideration. I think the 6 and the 2 are the ones that were kind of against the racetrack, that didn't really have everything go their way. But I do want to give my edge to the 6, Might As Well Run, because that horse is more tactical. I like the draw for this horse, drawn towards the outside. And although the 2 did spend some time wide as well, this horse is still going to have to overcome a little bit of a pace situation. Now, here's the biggest wrench in the entire equation, is my friend Richie points out the weights. Richie, I've never really taken too much account to weight, 2 pounds, 1 pound, 3 pounds. But I need you to tell me, does 7 pounds matter?
Well, that's when I think it starts to matter, Jonathan. I think when you're talking about weights, it's the spread. If it's a pound or 2, it'd be like the difference between me and Greg having a race and I've got to carry a Snickers bar in my pocket. Is it really going to make a difference? No, that's what a pound or 2 is to these horses. But 7 pounds, it's starting to get in that area where there's a significant enough spread where I do think it can make a difference. I like the way Jose Gomez is riding. Horses tend to show a bit more tactical speed when they have an apprentice. He's been showing that he's very proficient out of the gate. And the reason he gets a 7-pound break in weights is that Jose Gomez has not won 35 races yet in his career. To give trainers and owners an incentive to ride a young rider, Greg, when they start out, they give them a 10-pound allowance until they win 5 races. Then they have a 7-pound allowance until they win 35 races, and then they have 5 pounds back to the date of that 5th winner. So basically you have your apprenticeship for a year once you win 5 races.
He's been winning as an apprentice at a phenomenal rate. There he is, and May got a chance to sit down with him earlier this week. We're going to have that for you later in the show. Let's head back down to Maggie.
And I'm going to discuss Flying with Angels as well. Now, the only thing that leads me to believe that this horse may be a little bit more tactical is the presence of Jose Gomez. He is a horse, though, that continues to show that he doesn't have much early speed, that does struggle to get out of the gate a bit. Now he's drawn towards the inside again. He did not get a particularly exuberant warm-up. He was probably the only horse, I think, that stayed with the pony. Very quiet in the paddock. He looks great physically. I have no problems with him in that regard, but I'm with Jonathan. I think that Might As Well Run is just more tactical, and therefore it's an advantage, Greg.
Yeah, we will see. He's even money for a moment. He clicked down to odds on. But, yeah, Flying with Angels, back to the 2. There he is with the apprentice. It just seems like he needs pace in here to set it up for him, and I don't think there's a lot of pace in this race.
Well, and this is why it's so good to have Maggie's eyes down there on the ground. I would have preferred he got a better warm-up. I believe in good warm-ups. They're a 1,000-pound animal. You got to get their blood flowing. You got to get their muscles limbered.
You're talking about the 2?
The 2 not getting a particularly aggressive warm-up. I like when I see horses get good warm-ups. Now that being said, I wasn't overly enthusiastic with the 6's energy level in the post parade. I think he looks good overall from a physical perspective, no doubt. But I would have liked to have seen him picked up the bit more when he did leave the pony under Manny Franco.
See if he can get it done here at a short price. We had an odds-on favorite get beat back in the 5th to start off the pick 5, and now another short price to start off this pick 4. Manny Franco, Jeremiah Englehart, and a 4-year-old trying to break his maiden here in start number 6. With really, outside of the 2, maybe the 5, it's a stretch to think anyone else could upset here.
I agree. All three coming out of the same race last time. And listen, Might As Well Run makes a lot of sense. I'm, going with the second choice, maybe getting a slightly better price. We'll see if that 7-pound break in the weights and a hot riding Apprentice make a difference.
Start of the pick 4 on our Sunday card here from Aqueduct. Let's go upstairs. John Imbrial, the call.
Waiting for Might As Well Run and Battle Map. They're in the gate for race 6. And they're off. A bobbling start there for number 4, Raising Sand, and he is the early trailer. Battle Map from the outside, My Boy Colton from the rail, and the two of them are heads apart in the early going. Might As Well Run, the favorite, sits just off them in third. Then Lucky Brody, and on the inside, Beckenbauer. Those two are right together. Raising Sand has moved up into 6th, and farther back is the early trailer, Flying with Angels, in 7th. As they race up the backstretch after a quarter in 23 and 2/5 seconds, My Boy Colton at the rail. Might As Well Run advances now in between horses. Battle Map is on the outside. It's 2 lengths to Lucky Brody, who races in 4th. Another 2.5 to Raising Sand. Beckenbauer at the fence. Big break. Back to Flying with Angels, the trailer, in 7th. Now Might As Well Run goes on with it to take over the lead after a half mile and 47 seconds. Might As Well Run leads here by 1.5 lengths. Battle Map on the outside. And Lucky Brody is right there. And now moving up on the extreme outside is Raising Sand. Then comes My Boy Colton, who is back running in 5th. It is Might As Well Run with the lead as they come for the quarter pole. Might As Well Run is the leader. Lucky Brody on the outside in 2nd. Raising Sand is in 3rd as they come down for the 8th pole. It is Might As Well Run holding the lead here over Lucky Brody. Might As Well Run by almost 3. Lucky Brody in 2nd, farther back Raising Sand, and My Boy Colton with Battle Map. Might As Well Run has the lead as they come for the finish. Might As Well Run at the end won by 5 lengths. Lucky Brody completes the exacta. Raising Sand was 3rd.
Might As Well Run. Manny Franco got into a very cozy spot early on in this race.
Yeah, and position, just what Jonathan and Maggie talked about, that he would be forwardly placed. He was always in the bridle. He basically stalked the one. My Boy Colton, when he fell away, took the lead under a hold, and that does so much for a horse's confidence, and he just kicked away. 1-2 this time. Lucky Brody, 2nd best, made a run at him, came up 2nd best. And Flying with Angels, gosh, he was just completely out of the race. I thought he might be closer. He showed less speed than normal and really didn't show much finishing kick. Very logical result. Tried to beat the favorite, to no avail.
Even money in the end. Might As Well Run at a short price, 6.542 to kick off this late pick 4. Prices for you when we come back. We'll head back to Hot Springs as well. We've talked a lot about him, especially recently in the program. Francisco Arrieta again having a terrific meet in Hot Springs, and he could be a factor in the feature. We'll have Gary's thoughts on him when we come back.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKinsey. McKinsey Preservationist Vino Rosso and Yoshida. McKinsey's in front.
McKinsey, they've done it. McKinsey has it by 2.
It's McKinsey in a dominant performance. Pure class in the Malibu.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Into 2nd, Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return
How does horse racing support New York's economy? It's responsible for 19,000 jobs and more than $3 billion in annual statewide economic impact. These good-paying jobs support working families across the state and sustain thousands of small businesses both on and off the track. Horse racing in New York means jobs and opportunities now and in the future. We are New York Horse Racing.
Back on America's Day at the Races on FS2, program brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Might As Well Run, dropping to the lowest level he had ever been at in his 6th career starts, and he gets the job done convincingly.
Yeah, just the best horse, got the best trip because he's a horse that possesses tactical speed. Manny Franco, like I said, is kind of drawn into this jockey race as horses are continuing to run well from him. He's kind of gotten untracked here. And he had a long stride on him. I like the way he reaches his head out, straight, neck outstretched. I like horses that reach out like that. Long stride on him.
Showed some finish, no question. Did he get taken from Jeremiah Engelhardt? $4 for the win. 6.54 finish. And he did get claims. That's all we know right now.
We'll find out what Barney's having supper in tonight. But the one thing I'm sure Jeremiah Engelhardt's very happy about, he got this condition. You don't want to lose the horse, and they still have that condition.
Back to Hot Springs, race 4. $50,000 claiming race, horses who've not won 2 lifetime. And that man right there, he is leading the way at this meet. Francisco Arrieta with more on what makes him so good. Let's go to Gary Stevens.
Yeah, look, and he's getting the attention of the race fans, too, and the bettors. This horse was 6-1 on the morning line, bet down to 7-2 last time that I looked. So people are paying attention to the exhibition that Francisco Arrieta is putting on. He's drawn 3 clear in the standings right now, ahead of David Cabrera. Santana won one race earlier on the card, so he's within 6 of the lead as well. But they're going to fight this thing out to the end. But Francisco's riding with so much confidence right now. It's fun to watch, and he's enjoying himself. He's competitive. He's riding some great races out there right now, just making all the right moves, as well as Cabrera and Santana. This is going to be a battle right to the end, guys. It's going to be fun watching it go back and forth. There's a couple of guys that have climbed up in the standings, but these 3 are winning the majority of the races at this point in time. Let's see, Joel Rosario, he was in Saudi Arabia yesterday, had a fall earlier on the card yesterday prior to the Saudi Cup. I spoke with his agent this morning, Ron Anderson, said he's a little bit sore. He's landing later on this afternoon, coming back from Saudi Arabia. So he'll be back here in Hot Springs, I'm sure, next week. We'll be looking out for him. But it's fun watching these guys right now competing out there, and I know I'm enjoying it. Guys?
Well, pretty outstanding. We talk how deep the jockey colony is in New York, but it is very strong at Oaklawn as well, and it got boosted even further with Joel Rosario heading to ride there full time. But Ricardo Santana Jr. in an unfamiliar place chasing right now.
Yeah, but I think he should be very proud of what he's done, to rebuild and ride as well as he has and not to let anything adversely affect him. It's interesting, this jockey race at Oaklawn now, because the meet's extended. They go all the way till Derby Day. Oaklawn now runs till May. So this race is a long, long way from over.
No question. We got a long way to go. But Francisco Arrieta, he is making people take notice, no question. He is on the 2 here, who's the 3-1 favorite, coming out of a much, much tougher spot where was probably in over her head, and now back to more realistic company.
Yeah, I think very well placed, gets the hot rider. And, Gary talked about the public jumping on. Oaklawn's so much like Saratoga in that respect. When somebody gets, really hot and they're showing that kind of momentum, the buzz in the town is about them. Because just like Saratoga, Oaklawn, you go out to dinner, what's the conversation? It's about racing.
Let's take a look at the 4. Jockey, Kenny McPeak, horse who's been off since mid-July at Saratoga. And last time we saw him, he was going 1 mile and 1/8. But the win prior to that, breaking his maiden, he looked impressive sprinting.
Yeah, good speed that day. Kind of skimmed the rail at a time when Churchill Downs was playing so partial to inside runners and just kicked away. I think this is kind of a tough spot to return. I mean, listen, Kenny McPeak's very proficient at getting horses ready off a layoff, but I think this is a very competitive race.
When he broke his maiden, he was really quick on the 21 and change speed, but it was a 1 1/8 race next time out. That can tend to dull speed a little bit, but it was so long ago. Fresh off the bench, you think he's going to be fine?
Yeah, I think it's a non-factor. This horse coming off a long layoff. They tried to stretch out. It didn't work. Back to what this horse really wants to do, and that sprint. McLean's music was so brilliant. One start and ran like 114 buyer figure, trained by Steve Asmussen out in Santa Anita. Could you imagine on debut 114 buyer figure?
Often it's not a good thing to run that fast that early in your
know,
career.
He never ran again.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, pretty incredible. The other speed in this race, who's the problem for Gem Key? The rail, Megan's Clara the 1, and even the 2 is not necessarily slow, Montgomery Park.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair for sure. And, again, when you have the inside, I think there's more urgency to use a horse's speed to maintain or hold your position.
Let's go to Vic Stauffer. He's the 4th from Oaklawn.
Gem Key and Lady Valentine. They're at the post. They're off. Megan's Clara breaks well, and so does Montgomery Park. Let's Cruise away in 3rd. Lady Valentine is next, then Premier Wish, Legendary Gift, and Gem Key, and the trailer is Tone It Up. Montgomery Park quicker than Megan's Clara up the backstretch. Montgomery Park a neck in front. Megan's Clara is second by 2 lengths to Let's Cruise, who backs off and tracks from 3rd. 2.5 to Lady Valentine and Premier Wish. They've got 5 lengths to make up. Then comes Gem Key and Legendary Gift, and the trailer is Tone It Up, and here is Megan's Clara to move through at the rail and take the lead. Megan's Clara and Montgomery Park. No excuses for Let's Cruise. She's coming after the top 2, and she has gotten an absolutely perfect trip, and you better take a look at Let's Cruise in the center. Premier Wish is following her, top of the stretch. Here's Let's Cruise right now to slingshot to the front. It is Let's Cruise, a new leader, 2.5 lengths. Now moving between horses comes Legendary Gift, and she's taken over second, but Let's Cruise, the 16th out, has built up a 4-length advantage. Legendary Gift, Montgomery Park, and Premier Wish. Let's Cruise in front. Let's Cruise won by 3 3/4. Legendary Gift was second. Then Montgomery Park and Premier Wish.
It's only the 3rd start on dirt for Let's Cruise, and she wins here 3rd off the bench after running very competitive at this level last time out.
When you're a jockey, you dream of these kind of scenarios. 2 horses to beat, hook up in a duel in front of you. The one, Megan's Clara, who David Cohen rushed up to the inside to hold position. Montgomery Park under Francisco Arrieta. They go out in an all-out cutthroat duel, and you're laying 3rd, watching this transpire, just waiting to ask the question. Raylu Gutierrez delivered an absolutely flawless ride here. And Raylu, winning at a high percentage. He's been bouncing around a lot of different places. High percentage at Oaklawn, very well handled by his agent, Jose Santos Jr.
Let's Cruise, 2nd win in just 6 career starts, wins 3rd off the layoff here. We'll have the prices when we come back. We're going to return, talk Stymie, the Saturday feature from Aqueduct and Greenlight Co. Back in the hands of Jimmy Jerkins and back to winning stakes races for the first time since he was a 2-year-old. We'll talk about the Stymie next.
Run Happy, the #1 second prop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2. We'll get back to action from Oaklawn in just a little bit. We just saw Let's Cruise take the last race. Raylu Gutierrez in a perfect spot, as you talked about. He took advantage on this 4-year-old filly by not this time.
Yeah, and that's the luxury of being drawn outside with a horse that's tactical. Horses inside field more prone to go forward, hold position. She just sat that perfect trip, finished full of run, and just that dream setup that as a rider you licking your chops laying third with that scenario.
$9.60 for the victory. John Court, Francisco Arrieta on the 6 and 2. Complete that trifecta. Let's look back to Saturday here in New York, and one of the great resurgent stories, certainly on this circuit, Green Light Go, who was so promising as a 2-year-old, won the Saratoga Special for Jimmy Jerkins. Not too much further after that, in his 3-year-old season, he moved on to different barns. He's been at his best unquestionably, now back with Jimmy Jerkins, and now he's reeled off back-to-back victories.
This horse showed so much promise as a 2-year-old. So much promise, in fact, that Junior Alvarado chose him over Tis the Law. And, you know, this horse then, things kind of went a little bit sideways for him. He changed barns, lost his form, got back with Jimmy Jerkins, a masterful horseman. And this horse obviously relishes the way Jimmy works his horses and takes care of them. He's been in raging form. And you got to think off of this effort, the 1 mile stymie and as strongly as he finished and the speed that he's showing, the Carter has to be on their radar. I mean, he's just in such good form. And I'm always happy when Jimmy Jerkins wins.
Jimmy Jerkins mentioned that as the target for the next spot, so that's April 9th. And a grade 1 that would do a lot for this horse when he heads off to stud. In terms of his ability to win a grade 1 and what you saw yesterday, what do you think?
I think so. I think he's in good form. And look at him from a physical perspective here, walking down to the winner's circle to get his picture taken. He's a big, strong, stout horse. Jimmy Jerkins tends to train horses very similar to his father, the Hall of Famer, late great Alan Jerkins, where they work them. They get them dead fit. And horses with that kind of physical constitution, they thrive on a workload. And I think this is one of the reasons why this horse has refound his form, because he's back with a trainer that makes him work, gets him in the morning, makes him put out and makes him use himself. And some horses really thrive on that. In a day and age where a lot of trainers kind of, baby their horses, Jimmy's not one of those guys, and some horses really need that.
Going to cut back slightly to 7/8 if, in fact, the Carter is the next spot, which it sounds like it is. Be fun to see if he can keep it going back with the Jerkins barn, who he has the magic touch with Green Light Go, no question. Back to New York. And up next, it's race 7 here. 6 furlongs, race that changed massively with a couple of scratches in here. An allowance optional claiming field, Repo Rocks, South Sea. They might have been the two to beat in this race. And with the changes, Secret Rules has become the 6-5 favorite, a horse who you look at now, who's a distant second to an emerging star sprinter. What do you think now for Rudy Rodriguez?
Yeah, and, again, we talk about being drawn outside and how helpful that is. There is some other speed in here, though. We lost a little bit of that speed with South Sea, I think would have been involved early. But it gives him the luxury. It gives Kendrick Carmouche an opportunity to let him find his stride before he has to be put into the race. I think he's just well drawn.
Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
And the way that the track has been playing, it plays favorably into the way that Secret Rules wants to run, and that is towards the front end. So I would think that Kendrick Carmouche hopefully has been paying attention, and we will see Secret Rules on the front end, because everything that I've read, Bill Mott wants to see him on the front end. And last time, too, as he was coming back off of that long layoff, he was chasing kind of 2 to 3 wide throughout. And it was a gold rail day with, what do you think now, just glued to it and drawing off from the field. And obviously, as the guys just said, complimented when he came back and won the Holly Hughes, reproducing that 104 Beyer speed figure. Now, last time Secret Rules came back off that layoff was a new gelding. I noticed that he had lightened up a little bit, just, ever so slightly in his hind end and across his top line. Well, that race has moved him forward. He's put on the conditioning that I like to see. Now, I've been a little bit critical of him because, to be honest, he's a horse that really hasn't changed much from earlier on in his career physically. He's a little bit of a smaller type, but again, I always let that slide a little bit more when we're talking about dirt or turf sprinters. So I think he has moved forward, and I think he is much the horse to beat. To his inside is one coming off a bit of a layoff, dating back to late October, is Admonson, a talented, at times, New York bred. He's kind of an all-or-nothing type, and either he shows up or he doesn't. He is quick, too, so that's going to be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Secret Rules, and there's also other speed to his inside that we'll get to in a horse in a moment. But Admonson is a horse that, when he looks well in the preliminaries, he usually runs well. At times I've seen him, especially when his form kind of tailed off earlier last year, he just didn't look quite the same. He's rounding back to looking good, in which he did look good that day up at Saratoga, and he looked okay subsequently in a very tough field after that at Saratoga too. But I like what I'm seeing from him coming back here. Strong, carrying his conditioning well, and to be honest, he is a little bit quiet. He's one I'm going to watch carefully in how he warms up out in the racetrack. But so far, so good with Admonson. Another horse that does have that early speed is number 2, Fast Getaway. He is taking early money. And I said, what? I don't get this horse whatsoever. I know he is inside speed. I get it. But for me, and I know he's won on the dirt, but he is primarily a turf horse. He looks like a turf horse. Furthermore, he looked a heck of a lot better than last time I saw him than what he does here. He just looks as though he's lost some of that strength and conditioning that you want to see. His coat's kind of gone the wrong way. I don't really get him unless the track plays favorably to the way that he wants to run and his inside post position, Greg.
I will say this about him. Look, and Maggie mentioned he won on a race that was taken off the turf at Saratoga. I think he's the quickest of the quick in this spot. Sibelius does have that bullet drill coming in next door to him, the 3, but Fast Getaway, I think, can clear.
I think he's just naturally faster than the horse directly outside of him, Sibelius, who does have speed. Jackie Davis can be aggressive. She's been riding well, winning with limited opportunities. And again, the rail draw. There's urgency then. You want to go forward. You want to hold your position.
Jackie Davis will be aboard, second off the claim, with Oscar Barrera for Fast Getaway, taking money at 4-1. Prince James, Dylan Davis, we talked about him winning earlier. He had that 4-win Saturday, and he is leading the way, trying to win his first ever riding title. He's made so many strides we've seen on this program over the last few years, and he is really riding on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, he's really improved a great deal physically. From a physical standpoint, he's much stronger. You see tactically, he's sounder. He's paying more attention. He's being more disciplined about saving ground. And it's always nice when you're in a fight for leading rider to give yourself some breathing room. And that 5-win lead heading into this Sunday, get a couple days off. It feels good to have that little bit of a cushion. It's a long way from over, though. You got, several riders riding extremely well within calling distance.
See, we know how quickly things can change. Kendrick Carmouche had a 4-win lead on the final day of the meet a year ago, and Eric Cancel posted 6 wins on the day to catch him and win.
And got caught. I mean, that's a heartbreaking way to lose. That's like being in front every step of the way and losing by a nose on the last step. But, we still got 12 racing days after today to go, and it'll be interesting to see. But I tell you what, sometimes a guy's leading rider just because they're riding the best horses. You have 4 or 5 guys riding here right now that if they're leading rider, you're just happy for them because they earned it. They're riding in good form. They're not necessarily winning just because they're on the best horse all the time.
Well, Kendrick's certainly not out of the mix in this riding title at all. He's going to be on the 8th, the even money favorite, Secret Rules. Let's get Jonathan's thoughts here on the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, look, you guys saw the pick 4 that I played. I singled the 8 Secret Rules. It's a horse that I liked yesterday in a much tougher race. It's a horse that's drawn outside in a perfect spot. You get a rider in Kendrick Carmouche who's going to stay out of your way when it comes to utilizing what it is that you're really good at. You got tactical speed. Was wide last time on a track you probably didn't want to be wide on. I can keep going about the reasons that I think the 8 Secret Rules can win, but it's horse racing. And if Secret Rules doesn't win, I cannot provide any insight into who will win. I'm with Maggie. I don't like the 2 Fast Getaway. It's a horse that has some speed. But you got to think that this is a turf horse. and is going to at least get pressured at some point by Secret Rules and will take away that kind of long shot chance of the 2 Fast Getaway. The rest of the horses, I think, all have a chance, and I'm going to run through those chances very quickly. The 3, sure, maybe on the cutback, that horse could win. The 5, Peruvian Boy, switching to George Weaver. Another horse that could run well in here, Prince James. Maybe wants to go a little bit longer, will be finishing if the pace happens to fall apart. And the 7, Amundsen, is a horse that I've always kind of thought was super, super cool. So I singled Secret Rules. If this horse doesn't win, then your guess is as good as mine.
There's the man leading the way, Dylan Davis. A lot to be smiling about for that young man right here. 46 wins and counting. Having a terrific meet. And he's going to be aboard, I thought, really, in this race, the big X-Factor horse, because a horse who ran a lights-out performance, but it came against 25,000 non-winners at 3 lifetime, and now taking this massive step up in class.
I think the race sets up well for him, though. I think there's enough pace in here, even though I agree with Jonathan, he maybe wants to go a little further. Sometimes when you get a race that appears to have pace, now we'll see what happens when the gates open, it intensifies a horse's closing kick that actually wants to go further because they go out so quickly, they're coming back to him, and he's just hitting his best stride. That's when you see those kind of upsets with that big late charge.
And it also came on a sloppy track, and it just you question the figure a little bit if it was legitimate.
I mean, it's all fair points, but he does also make his first start for Rob Atras. He's also been a horse that's been very popular at the claim box. And usually when these horses are popular amongst horsemen, there's a reason for it.
Post parade coming up. A lot of attention to Secret Rules. Bill Mott, Kendrick Carmouche, Leine Sadler and company. And a horse who was a distant second to a horse who would be about 1 to 9 in here. And it's going to be tackling top company very soon in the future. Already a stakes winner. What do you think now? Here's the speedy Fast Getaway, who is definitely more of a turf horse.
Well, he'll be looking for a fast getaway from the rail.
Sibelius, quick next door as well.
Should be a part of the pace as well.
8 to 1. Peruvian Boy, double-digit odds for George Weaver, who just claimed this horse.
And a horse also turning back in distance, catching a lot of pace, and should be closing.
5 to 2 on Dylan Davis's Mount Prince James.
I think this horse is a major player. First start for Rob Atras, and he's got the right style for the way the race projects to set up.
Amundsen, this horse used to be very good and very consistent. His last couple of starts, he's sort of been a no-show.
Yeah, Amundsen, on his best days, has speed, but he also has the ability to stalk, so he might find himself in the right kind of spot.
Not that long ago, he would have been the favorite in here. And even money, Secret Rules, second off the layoff.
I think he's relegated to more of a stalking trip, particularly from that outside post. See, Kendrick, his patented warm-up, gets on the track, lets him set right off, and he's actually given him a lot of rein. He wants to warm him up. He wants him involved, but at least he's not committed to being in a duel if the pace, I believe, is in here shows up.
2 minutes from this 7th here in New York. And Secret Rules, 5-year-old. You see a lot of seconds on the resume, too, but it's hard to kind of knock him for that because even outside of what do you think now? Last time out, no one's going to beat that horse in that race. In a 104 buyer, he's faced a lot of good horses that show up. 3 Technique, Mios, Pete's play call is a really tough horse. He's tackled some tough company.
You know, he's been in against very, very solid fields of horses, tough horses. What do you think now came back off of that effort to win the Holly U Stakes, New York bred restricted stake? So, you know, listen, he maybe doesn't have that winning habit, but I don't think it's because he doesn't want to pass horses. He's just running into some buzzsaws.
Yeah. Well, let's head back down to Maggie.
Let's take a look at 2 horses that look great physically. I just don't know how well they class up with this field. And we'll start with Sibelius, who is coming in off the back of a win. But I remember that day vividly, and that there were 2 divisions of that same A other than going the 7/8 distance. Now, sound money when the latter part of that split division race, and he went a full 2 3/5 faster. He came back and ran very well in yesterday. Just, you know, the first one to attack a very quick pace. But Sibelius won the slower version, and that's because Sibelius got to control a slow pace. That's not happening today. Like I said, he looks fantastic. You could not ask a horse to look any better than what he does. I just don't think he is that good, and that things are going to play into his favor. As we'll also take a look at Peruvian Boy, kind of the same thing. And to be fair, his best running has come going longer, and I think he's just a horse that kind of needs to get into a rhythm. And two, he's not the winningest type. He's a very polite horse, and he says, okay, I'll run with you, but you go ahead and finish in front of me. He was flattered when Famish came back on short rest and won with an 83 buyer. George Weaver and his crew have him looking, again, fantastic. I just don't know if he fits well with this group here, and graduating out of a 35.93 life and taking on this field is pretty much a tall task. But look, Greg, as you pointed out, he's a big price.
Thank you, Maggie. We'll see what happens here. Short price on the outside runner under Kendrick Carmouche, and it'll be fun to watch early what happens on the front end. Fast Getaway, can Sibelius pressure next door that 3? And how long can the 2 last with Jackie Davis?
I think Kendrick comes out running on your favorite, but I think more to force the hand on the horses inside, make them go on, make it legitimate, and then maybe you're sitting that stalking outside trip that we so covet.
And can Prince James, the 6, reproduce his last start on that sloppy track against much tougher company under the meet's leading rider? Let's go upstairs. John Imbrial, the call.
In the gate. And they're off. Secret Rules away well from the extreme outside. Fast Getaway down at the rail, moves up in between horses. It is Sibelius. Fast Getaway, Sibelius right together. Secret Rules just off of them in third. 2.5 lengths back to Prince James and Amundsen, and it's 7 lengths back to the trailer, Peruvian Boy. The leader here is Fast Getaway. In front, 3/4 of a length. Sibelius on the outside in second. The opening quarter, 21 4/5 seconds. They go around the far turn. It is Fast Getaway setting that fast fraction. Fast Getaway, and now they're closing in. Here comes Secret Rules on the outside with Prince James racing in third. Sibelius has dropped back, and then it is Amundsen, and they're at the top of the stretch. Fast Getaway and Secret Rules, and in between those two, it is Prince James. It is Fast Getaway holding the lead here. Prince James all out in second. Secret Rules on the outside. Amundsen is coming on late as they pass the 8th pole. Here's Prince James to move right alongside of Fast Getaway. Amundsen continues to close. They're coming on for the finish. It is Prince James and Amundsen is the winner. Amundsen from well off the pace defeats Prince James and the pace-setting Fast Getaway.
Well, Dylan Davis gave his sister the slip in the stretch, but then Amundsen and Manny Franco passed everybody.
Well, it was hot on the front end, and this is the first time we've seen Amundsen come from this far off the pace, a horse that has shown great ability in the past, but a different style today because the race shape dictated it. A sub-22 first quarter, and nice to see this regally bred, New York bred Curlin, by Curlin, come down the middle of the track and get it done for Barry Schwartz, bred at his Stonewall farm. Amundsen had quite a journey.
This horse had so many races to go back to, and like I said, I mean, not that long ago, he would have been the favorite in here, but the last couple of starts, really 3 of the last 4, maybe even 4 of the last 5, he had been kind of a no-show. Big wake up today.
But you know, Greg, they maybe found out something today that this is how he wants to run. Sometimes horses that show high speed earlier in their career, they change a little bit and they don't want to be rushed as much. And today, the fact that he settled and finished with this much energy, I got to think they might have found a hole card to this horse, and this will be his style going forward.
9-1, Amundsen, the upset score here in the 7th from Aqueduct under Manny Franco, and Horatio De Paz getting by Prince James. He ran good in defeat, stepping up to a much higher level than he'd been at, and Fast Getaway hanging around too to hit the trifecta.
Yeah, ran well.
We'll be back with more, and we'll talk Rebel when we return. It was a New York bred, Un Ojo, getting a brilliant ground-saving trip under Ramon Vasquez. He's on his way to the Kentucky Derby after this performance. We'll be back.
And Shotgun Hottie, oh, it's a photo finish. Is early voting, who was on top right from the start, and early voting wins the Withers, wire to wire. God-eyed, and he's going to win the 117th running of the hopeful
Echo Zulu.
wins the Neck Jets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies by 5.5 lengths.
Three Chimneys, where dreams are born.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
They say breed the best of the best and hope for the best.
Vekoma broke well on the outside.
But you don't expect to get speed like this.
Is Vekoma the one to catch? Vekoma has a 5-length lead in this Grade 1 quarter. Vekoma continues to battle on down at the rail. It is Vekoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Back at America's Day at the Races on FS2. Our program brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. 9-1 on this 6-year-old who returns to the winner's circle for the first time since last summer at Saratoga.
Big run from Adamson from far off the pace, gets it done. Like I said, Manny Franco has drawn in close. Don't count him out of this jockey race just yet either.
I was going to look up more to your reference you made for me. There's literally nothing on him. It's so obscure.
Adamson was a great Norwegian explorer. And I said he had a great journey.
How'd you know this?
I'm friends with the owner. I do my research. Come on.
Quick look there at the pick 5, how it's played out so far with 2 legs remaining. Let's head down to Maggie.
Here with winning trainer Horacio De Paz of Adamson, and a horse that when he shows up, he can be quite brilliant. You did get some quick fractions to close into, but he was a horse that used to be really quick. Is it nice knowing now that he can show a different dimension and close?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when Jose rode him at Saratoga, he's like, I don't think he has to be on the front end. You know, he took him off the pace, and he was able to pass horses, so it's nice that he can learn to do that.
He's a horse that has had stops and starts in his career, but has, like I said, shown a lot of ability. Is patience just truly paying off with him?
It is, and, you know, I've been trying to contemplate with the idea of maybe stretching him out a little bit without having to use him as much early on. But, you know, this race came up, so we figured go ahead and start him here and go from there.
Will this be a go and have a campaign? Because now he's a 6-year-old. So how do you kind of manage this 6-year-old's campaign?
With a lot of patience from Barry, obviously, because, I mean, we like the horse. He always showed talent, so just waiting for the right time when he comes around. Obviously, spacing in between races doesn't, you know, helps him, so that's good.
Well, congratulations. Big win today.
Thank you.
Horacio De Paz and Barry Schwartz, as you had mentioned, Meg, they are quite a team, and proving that patience always pays off in this game.
6-year-old who's been on the circuit for a while now and has had some great success. Good to see him back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Barry is a guy that has put so much into the game over the years. And Horatio just said it. He's patient and does what's right by his horses.
Back to Oaklawn. This 5th race kicks off the late pick 5. Mile and a 16th, $10,000 claiming race. So they're all for sale in this one. It's horses who've not won 2 lifetime in Graves Mill Road. The one to beat, at least on the board, off back-to-back distant second-place finishes.
It's kind of an interesting race because there's really not much speed in here whatsoever until you get out to the 10-horse. Lock Garmin, who's coming out of sprints and adds blinkers on the stretch out. This horse could be loose and lonely on the lead.
Really could. 3-1 right now. Try and find anyone else that could stick with this horse early at all. It's almost impossible to find. Got a break better, certainly, than he did last time out. Robertino Diodoro taking over the claiming duties of Lock Garmin, the 10. Let's go to JK for more here as we kick off this pick 5.
Yeah, look, I'm going to pick the 11, but I'm going to start with the 10 here, okay? Lock Garmin for Robertino Diodoro. I'm going to go to my friend Marshall Graham. He tweeted today, at Truxton Stables on Twitter, by the way. Since January 28th, Robertino Diodoro at Oaklawn Park is 1 for 39 with only 10 hitting the board. And that's versus 7 projected wins. 62% of his had their buyer figures fall from their previous start. 32% that improved. Diodoro's horses are not running. I don't know what it is. Sometimes there can be sicknesses that can kind of get passed around the barn, so all the horses are kind of playing from behind. Marshall did this work to point out the fact that his horses aren't improving like we're so used to seeing with Diodoro horses. And in fact, their average decline is 6 buyer speed figure points. This horse is extremely overbet. I probably put him in the winner's circle with this long ordeal about how he's supposed to run slower now, but it's just not the same Diodoro we've seen in the past. I'm going to go with the 11, Tiz McNamara, drawn towards the outside. This is a horse that ran well enough last time. Got beat by 11 lengths, but there was a speed figure that kind of put him in the mix with this group. So I wanted to make sure I pointed out my friend Marshall's Twitter. The always dropping knowledge like this, like I mentioned, at Truxton Stables for more nuggets like this when it comes to racing at Oaklawn Park and racing everywhere.
It's something we're not accustomed to seeing because he's been, Robertino Diodoro, a tremendous trainer. He's one of the best in the game and certainly, like, claiming trainer, one of the absolute best in this sport. To see him, by his account, what we're used to seeing, struggle a little bit. It's especially at Oaklawn. It's strange.
Yeah, especially at Oaklawn. I think it's out of character. But, yeah, Jonathan made a good point. Sometimes, things go through a barn, and it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It could be some, like, low-level thing that horses just are a little bit off their best. They're just not 100%, not anything that would be so outwardly obvious or visible.
But everyone, look, every barn, too, goes through down cycles, and as good as he is, it's going to turn around.
You wouldn't expect it to be that way. This is a cyclical game. Things do come around, and there's no doubt about that.
Well, his horse, who should be controlling in front, this 10, stretching out with Ramon Vasquez, the 2-1 favorite now.
Well, I think the fear of this, though, and you could see how on his toes he was. He was a bit, wet and sweaty on the shoulders and the neck, and he's really on his toes, that he's too keen. You don't want a horse to run off into the first turn and stay in the bridle. For him to stay a distance, he's going to have to come off the bridle and relax a little bit. Even if he's on the lead, he can't just pull the entire race.
No, he tried a stretch out in his third career start off, 2 sprints. That didn't work out. He had nothing in the lane. We'll see if it works better here at a softer level. Keep your eyes on the 10 early. Ramon Vasquez should be leading the way. Pick 5 starts here. Here's Vic Stauffer.
Moon in the Sky has gone in. Chase Tracker will be next. They're off. Axis breaks well, so does Tiz McNamara. Lock Garmin has asked for speed, and there goes Lock Garmin to challenge Axis early, and they roll along. Tiz McNamara will now fall into a good spot from Graves Mill Road to the outside Stud Puppy, then Chase Tracker, Moon in the Sky, and into orbit at the rail. Then comes Southern Rags, followed by Megamax, and the trailer is Demigod. Fast pace to the backstretch, sent jointly by Axis and Lock Garmin, and they have opened up a big lead here. Axis a half length, Lock Garmin is pressing, and they have sprinted 7 lengths clear of Tiz McNamara. Graves Mill Road is 4th, and he's about 9 from the front, but that might be the perfect spot. Into orbit has 10 to make up. Then it's 5 more back to Moon in the Sky, followed by Southern Rags and Stud Puppy. Demigod has 20 to close. Inside of him, Chase Tracker. Megamax is the trailer. Axis and Lock Garmin are still 1-2. Axis, 3/4 of a length from Lock Garmin in second. Graves Mill Road is moving outside of Tiz McNamara. They're together. Axis and Lock Garmin are 1-2, and Axis is getting away from Lock Garmin just a bit. Tiz McNamara. Graves Mill Road has got to go. He looked like he was going to make a move leaving the backstretch, but now he's kind of going up and down. Still 5 from the front. Southern Rags and Stud Puppy, Axis and Lock Garmin continue to match strides. Axis 3/4 of a length. Lock Garmin is alongside. Still 4 back to Tiz McNamara and Graves Mill Road. Lock Garmin is running a very, very big race. He comes back mid-stretch with a 2-length lead. Axis backs out. Tiz McNamara's got a chance to get through. Lock Garmin all out to the final 16. Tiz McNamara is coming at him. Lock Garmin, Tiz McNamara up through from the inside to win. Tiz McNamara. Tiz McNamara won by 2.5. Lock Garmin ran too good to lose, as did Axis, who hung on for third. Stud Puppy fourth.
Tiz McNamara runs down Lock Garmin, who ran so big on the stretch out. Was not able to get to the front early, though. Chelsea Bailey and Axis made things difficult.
Yeah, and finally put that one away. Looked like he was on his way to victory. And here on the rail with a 7-pound Apprentice from post 11 and a nice call from Jonathan Kinchin. This horse was a very square price. I think going to the gate, he was like 11-1.
7-year-old comes up the fence and gets a horse who maybe was tiring a little bit here. Tiz McNamara goes off, yeah, right at 7-1 in the end. Albert Lopez in the irons for Scott Becker. Just 1 for 16 coming in. Second start off a 1.5-year layoff. Able to run down the speedster. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, my partner, he had a chance to sit down with that young man who is turning heads with his riding. Jose Gomez making big strides here in New York. We'll hear from him next.
Catholic Boy, one of only 3 American 3-year-old colts in history to win Grade 1s on both dirt and turf, including the immortal Secretariat. A 6-time graded stakes winner from ages 2 to 4, he was the fastest 3-year-old of his crop over 10 furlongs. Now his progeny are bringing top dollar in the sales rate. Dual surface Grade 1 winner Catholic Boy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. 8th race coming up next in New York, and I thought this might be the toughest race on the entire card to try and handicap. The 11 right now favored Betsy Blue coming off the bench, but you can make a case for several in here, including potentially chasing Cara. Jose Gomez will be aboard. Young man who has made tremendous strides in here. He talked actually with Kelly Breen, who recommended Angel Cordero, the Hall of Famer, work with him. He's been a mentor to him. Richard Migliori had a chance to sit down with a young apprentice.
I'm very pleased to be joined by the leading apprentice jockey here this winter, Jose Gomez. Jose, I always find it fascinating when a young rider gets off to such a good start, and you've been riding so well. Give me a little bit of background. How did you get started? I know you started kind of going to the track with your mom, who was your groom, Anna Maria.
From a young kid, you know, I was always around horses. I went to actually Arlington. I started galloping there. I wasn't ready. I got fired. I went to Ocala, started breaking babies. And from there, you know, I just learned, and then from there, I went to Monmouth. Monmouth, you know, galloping for some people. Then I got introduced to Kelly. And from when I started working with Kelly, I just started going from Monmouth to Palmettos, and to Palmettos back to Monmouth. And then in Monmouth, he put me on some horses. And, you know, like once a month, you know. And then when Monmouth ended, he said, just go to New York. I got an agent up there for you, and, you know, we'll keep going. And I said, okay.
And you're talking about trainer Kelly Breen.
Yeah, Kelly Breen.
And you won a race at Belmont for him.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Because Belmont is big time. I mean, New York is big time. To break your mate and win your first race at Belmont Park, what was that feeling?
It was unbelievable. I mean, the first time there, and I've known the horse I won on. I've been galloping him since like Monmouth and then Palmettos, and he came up here, and it was just great. There couldn't have been a better horse to win on. Honestly.
Now, he got you an agent, a guy named Angel Cordero Jr., Hall of Famer. What's it like working with Angel and having him to give you advice or to guide you a little bit?
It's great. It's great, honestly, because if I have questions, I'm not sure about something, I ask him. And if he's the first one, you know, he just does it because he's trying to teach me. You know, if I do something, he, you know, tells me, like, try to do it this way. You know, and just he's trying to help me, you know, and it's great. It's great, honestly. I learned a lot from him. Just watching his old replays, you know, from back when he was riding, and I just study a lot.
Good jockey colony here, a lot of top riders. Is there anybody that really you want to be like? Somebody that like you pattern yourself after, or you know, guys that actually give you advice or help you?
Honestly, I don't want to be just like one guy. I want to have my own style, but I take a lot from all these guys, you know, from like Irad, Jose, Telegraph Leon, just everybody here, honestly. And I try to make my own thing, but take pieces, you know, from everybody. Just learn from everybody, you know. Look how they do this, how they do that. Just learn from everybody.
As a young man, he's got a twinkle in his eye, great smile, and loves what he's doing, living large, leading apprentice jockey, Jose Gomez.
Oh, he's got a good man in his corner, too, in Angel Cordero. What's the toughest thing on a major circuit like this to try and establish yourself as a young rider?
Well, I think convincing yourself, learning and having confidence in yourself that you can compete with the level of talent that's here in New York. And I think that he has seen that. He's seen that clearly. And like you said, he's got Angel Cordero as a mentor. Angel Cordero has been so key to the success of Hall of Famer Johnny Velasquez, key to the success of Manny Franco, Eric Cancel, even the Ortiz brothers. You know, Angel is an absolute legend in thoroughbred racing, but certainly in Puerto Rico. I mean, he came here and did things, winning the riding title in Saratoga, you know, an incredible amount of times, just one of the greatest riders in the history of our sport, and everybody looks up to him. As a rider, everybody looks up to him. Even when you're competing with Angel, you admire his skills. And what's great about what's going on right now with Jose Gomez is he's got 23 victories on the year. He rode his 5th winner on January 14th of this year. That means he has his apprenticeship all the way till January 14th of next year. That gives him a full year with the bug. That gives him a big leg up on winning the Eclipse Award because his stats won't be watered down having his bug spread out over 2 years.
Said Angel, too, taught him, especially at this meet in the winter, stay close to the fence, stay close to the base, and those lessons for him have paid off. He's going to be on Chasing Kara here, the 8. With more, let's head downstairs to Maggie.
We have some layoff horses to discuss here in the paddock, beginning with number 3. That is Secret Love for trainer John Kimmel. We've not seen her in quite a while, actually, since May, when she was the beaten favorite in the Bowery, beaten by a horse that we'll get to in a moment, also coming off a layoff in Betsy Blue. But she didn't break that well that day, then kind of went up to challenge the early leader, took over, and just could not quite hold off Betsy Blue, who did have a perfect inside-out ground saving right behind the pace trip. I've always been a fan of Secret Love, but now coming back as a 4-year-old, I wish there'd been just a little bit more development. She's still very small. She still looks much the same as what she did going back to early in her 3-year-old year. So I kind of get the impression, though, that sometimes with these not this times, they do tend to be early precocious types that don't necessarily go on. Now, as far as her preparations coming back to the races, she looks as fit as you can possibly ask a horse to be. She is quiet here, but that's kind of typical of her, and she looks as though she's in good condition as far as her health is concerned. I'm just wondering, has she gone on a bit? And ultimately, does she need to be competitive in this field? Maybe not. As number 9 is a bit of Irish Sass, as she will turn back in distance. And I always thought since the day that she showed up as a 2-year-old and later on in her 2-year-old year that longer would be better. And it did prove to be that. Well, now she's coming back at 6.5 furlongs. I will say she is incredibly sharp here. She always is that type of forward and eager and aggressive type of horse in the preliminaries. I still am going to stick with my guns that I think this might just be a stepping stone for route races. But I like the way she's come back. She's one that's done well, that has gone on a bit, that has filled out, gotten stronger, bigger, everything you want to see a horse do coming back as a 4-year-old. I'm intrigued by her. Like I said, the only knock is the distance here today, as we'll move on to Betsy Blue as she returns to the races. I'll admit I have not gotten the best look at her, as she has kept the cooler on and they took a while to get her tack out. She's one that she ran a lot in her 3-year-old year for Linda Rice, and she always showed up, physically with her A game. She looks okay here. She looks fit. She could look a little bit better in her coat if I was, splitting hairs on a 2-to-1 favorite that does have a layoff to overcome with. But she is a horse that knows how to win and knows how to show up. She has never finished worse than 3rd in her 9-race career so far. Very calm here in the paddock. That's typically how she always has been. So we'll see. Betsy Blue off the layoff at a short price, Greg.
Haven't seen her since September 6th at Saratoga. The only filly that beat her that day, filly named Miss Jimmy, who came back to win again. She's 10 for 23 lifetime. She won a stake at Finger Lakes in her next, and she was 2nd in the Iroquois.
Yeah, and again, this race holds so much intrigue because you've got horses with quality, but some questions too, right? Layoffs, different things, distance could be a factor with some of them.
Mosdienko, big price off the bench in her 5-year-old debut. She ran a big one. Can she move forward again?
He's going to have to work out a trip from the inside under Omar Moreno Hernandez.
Won by 6+ lengths. Leading rider at the meet, Dylan Davis on Beautiful Karen.
It showed really good speed last time. Couldn't hold off Rosa Veloce, but good speed.
Secret Love. She's been off since May of last year for John Kimmel.
Another one that could be speedy, should be forwardly placed, especially off the bench.
Heman Harkey on Wailing Josie, who will cut back in distance.
Yeah, and she showed speed last time. That was going longer. Probably have to rally from off the pace today.
By Hubby, Hello Money. A little wide last time out and had a little bit of problems out of the gate.
I'm just such an admirer of this filly. She runs all kinds of distances, all kinds of surfaces, and shows up.
This one does not look happy. Be cute.
Yeah, got a little wind under her tail. It was rain her tail, kind of off jumping and bucking.
Impossible Donna, 10-1, blinkers on.
Yeah, blinkers on. She showed more speed recently than I think she was more effective when she rallied from off the pace younger.
Here's the Apprentice, Jose Gomez. We just saw the interview with Mig.
That kid that's riding with a lot of confidence.
A bit of Irish sash, Manny Franco.
I like the marks that she got from Maggie coming back here as a 4-year-old, but it might be a bit short for her.
Big price on Happy Sophia, but she's actually taking money. She had a wide trip last time out, too. She was only 4th behind Beautiful Karen and was 2nd.
Yeah, was not far away, competitive with several of these.
2-1 favorite, Betsy Blue.
Betsy Blue, I think the distance suits well. She's well drawn outside. She should be getting that kind of perfect outside stalking trip.
And speed outside, monster price, 59-1.
Yeah, but a filly that should at least have a say in how this race is run because it looks like she should be involved early. right?
Let's go back to the favorite, 2-1 on Betsy Blue, 4-year-old filly by tonalist, Jose Lezcano. And this was the last time that we saw her. This was Saratoga last summer, early September. And she was better than everybody except the very accomplished Miss Jimmy.
Yeah, she ran really well. A lot to like out of this race. I have one question, though. I mean, you know, she's coming off an extended layoff, and I only see 4 published workouts. And none of them are very eye-catching from a time standpoint. Now, you know I'm not a time guy per se, but that's just not a lot of works to come in off the layoff.
That's a good point. We don't know, but what does that make you think?
Well, it just worries about, to me, her overall general fitness. I mean, you would usually expect to see more of a work tab coming in off of a layoff.
4 wins, 4 seconds, and 9 career starts. Trying to win off the bench here, Jonathan.
Yeah, look, this is a race that I think is very important for horse players to look at for a learning situation. And don't get me wrong, by no means am I trying to say that like I'm quote-unquote good. But I think good horse players understand the races that they don't have an opinion in. And you treat those races accordingly. That's why when I gave my pick 4, I spread like crazy in here. I just don't have a strong opinion, and that's okay. You don't have to have a strong opinion in every race. You can pass on races, or you can find different wager types that allow you to play into that race or that sequence, depending on how the sequence lays out. Now, I will pick the 9, a bit of Irish Sash. This is a horse that I felt like, Sass, excuse me. It's a horse that I felt like you could kind of make a case for. This horse has been short prices throughout the career, and no offense to the connections, but for percent, 12%. Schosberg is 12% in his career, and to have a horse that runs at Saratoga, Belmont, a handful of times and is less than 4-1 basically every time the horse runs, this horse has some talent. And so coming back off of a break, getting Lasix again, having some tactical speed, getting a top rider in Manny Franco, I just felt like this horse was the one that I was going to pick. But I literally used like 7 of them in my pick 4.
It's a field where you go through and you flip through many of these horses, and you can make cases for several of them. As I'll take a look at 2 horses that are actually adding blinkers. And by hubby Hello Money, she adds kind of a big cheater cut blinker. And I'm not the biggest fan of her campaign for the fact that she's jumping back and forth between 6 furlongs, mile and a 16, 6 furlongs, mile and an 1/8. Now, we are staying at a sprint distance, at least for the 2nd time in a row, which she has not done since she's been claimed. But she's run well, and she's run respectably, and she's run nearly the same buyer speed figure every time she runs. And I thought that given the way the race played out last time with Rosa Veloce coming up the rail, Beautiful Karen was a pace setter. The pace kind of held together for her, and she was far behind. Now the blinker's going on. She's a bit sharper than what I've seen from her in the past, but physically she maintains a high quality of appearance throughout this campaign that she's had as a 3-year-old onto a 4-year-old. So she's going to be my pick in here. I just thought that she could sit a tactical trip with those blinkers going on. Impossible Donna, I thought last time, she did not get a very aggressive full-hearted ride. And blinkers go on today. She broke very alertly, albeit from that far outside post. We'll see she's in the middle of the field today. Again, another one that's adding just big cut cheater blinkers. I think she's better than what that last race is. And I loved what I saw from on the racetrack, just moving really, really well, very focused with that head equipment going on, Greg.
Maggie, thank you. 5-2 favorite, Betsy Blue. Can she win off the bench here? Hasn't raced at September 6th for Linda Rice. And several in here have races with more recency, too, that fit with the best she's produced.
Again, I mean, she's very logical. Linda Rice does a terrific job, but that work tab did seem just a touch light to me.
Stakes winner in the past, though, and we'll see if this class for her prevails. But is she ready first off the layoff? We're about to find out. She's the 11 there in the background waiting to load under Jose Lezcano. It's the feature on this Sunday card from New York. Let's go to John Imbrial.
There in the gate. And the rough. It is Impossible Donna going out for the lead. Big Q is right there. Far outside, Steal My Heart. Beautiful Karen advances at the rail. And Chasing Kara now moves up. Secret Love is racing a close up 6th. By Hubby Hello Money is in 7th. A bit of Irish Sass is next. And then on the outside, it is Betsy Blue, followed by Waylon Josie. At the back of the pack are Happy Sophia and Mosienko, the quarter in 22 and 3/5 seconds. And the leader is Beautiful Karen on top here by a half length, with Big Q on the outside in second and Impossible Donna next in third. Secret Love is down at the rail running in fourth. A bit of Irish Sass and Chasing Kara. Chasing Kara moving up on the outside. Then a bit of Irish Sass. Betsy Blue begins to move now as the field comes for the top of the stretch. Beautiful Karen on the inside. Impossible Donna on the outside. The half went in 46 and 2/5 seconds. Beautiful Karen still there. Impossible Donna out in the middle of the track. It is Betsy Blue who's gaining ground from third as they come down for the furlong marker. Beautiful Karen, Impossible Donna, and on the outside, here's Betsy Blue with a 16th to the finish. Betsy Blue now takes the lead. Impossible Donna is second. Betsy Blue off the layoff to win under Jose Lascano. Impossible Donna was second. Beautiful Karen finished third.
Big effort from Betsy Blue off the bench to beat this field in her 4-year-old return to the races.
Yeah, I worried about her overall general fitness or potential lack of it with only 4 published workouts. No problem whatsoever. Ready to fire off the bench. Linda Rice gets it done. Got a nice setup, kind of contested pace on the front end, but she finished the deal. Betsy Blue certainly confirmed why she was so well bet off the bench.
She just shows up, too, every single time, right?
She does. I mean, as honest as can be. Now, 10 starts with 5 wins, 4 seconds, and a third. I mean, that's a gem of consistency.
11-7-2. If you use the favorite and a price underneath, you get 12-1 underneath. If you got some deep coverage in here, Kendrick Carmouche on Impossible Donna getting second. We're going to take a timeout. We'll have the prices from this when we return. We'll set up the nightcap as well, and we'll talk to Coach back in contention on both the Oaks and Derby Trail. Secret Oath, though, he's got options with her. She's so good. He's thinking potentially tackling the boys in the Arkansas Derby. We'll take a look back next.
Start spreading the news. If you're looking to win in New York, then breed in New York. To War Dancer, the millionaire son of Warfront, and New York's #1 sire of 3-year-olds. Breed to a proven performer, the #1 second crop sire at the Saratoga meet with multiple winners at Belmont and Aqueduct. Earn double the New York Breeders' Awards and participate in the New York Stallion Series with $2 million in purses. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York. Visit wardancerstud.com.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Precocity.
Strategic speed. Some speed at 2, but can carry it on through their later careers.
Improbable, full of run. Improbable, now a Grade 1 winner. It is a complete runaway, an authoritative run.
It's Improbable to win the Whitney.
Blood Horse Plus, available through bloodhorse.com, provides exclusive, timely, and unmatched content to subscribers, including Fox Sports, Blood Horse branded weekly programs, a detailed stakes winners section, behind-the-scenes videos from Blood Horse staff, on-demand access to deeper horse statistics, and a $5 monthly credit to equineline.com. Upgrade to Blood Horse Plus today.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2. It's brought to you in part by the champion sprinter Run Happy. Never lost in his career while sprinting, now standing in legendary stall number 1 at Claiborne Farm. Let's go back to Oaklawn and a look at the odds for their 6th race. The post parade here in a moment. 30 maiden claiming sprint. Coming up next, it's the 9 who's currently favored, who has had a lot of opportunities, has been at a lower level before and is disappointed.
Has had a lot of chances, but when you're not seeing first-time starters, and there are several in here, or lightly raced horses taking much money, maybe it speaks to the overall general quality of the field.
Here's Romantic Comedy, start number 2, and at least is dropping to face easier.
This horse dropping to maiden allowance to maiden 30 after breaking, so she can certainly improve with the class relief and a race under her belt.
First-time starter by creative cause for Tom Swearingen here.
Again, filly with a couple of good gate works. Her last gate work was pretty good, but not taking money.
Final table, 37-1.
Again, first-time starter, not attracting attention, so it doesn't give you confidence that they've been kind of dazzling in the morning.
Joe knows all about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mandona, Randy Morse.
Showed brief speed also for maiden allowance and stopped. Gets class relief, maybe 6 rounds longer.
Wasn't your son at the final table?
Oh, yeah.
A few years ago?
Well, he didn't make it quite to the final table, but he made it deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
9-1 Pacific Grove, Raylu Gutierrez.
Another one that is going to have to find that New York form 3 starts back. I mean, the last recent races left a lot to be desired.
Maggie's Will went by Calvin Burrell, start number 2, another dropper. And here's first-time starter, Bad Outlook.
Another one that's just a first-timer, not garnering a lot of attention.
Another Tom Swearingen runner. We'll see next. The 8 at 19-1.
Yeah, first race was okay. The last time faced a bit tougher. Maybe the little bit of class relief helps.
Here's the favorite, 2-1 Mike Coralina, who was beat against Softer last time out.
Softer, but ran a very respectable figure, was claimed. Maybe they're expecting improvement off the claim.
G Money Live, Run Moquette, another class dropper.
Yeah, it was racing in maiden allowance, restricted maiden allowance in Saratoga. This is a far different company.
Keno moving to a new barn.
Another one off the claim, turning back in distance. I like the turn back in distance for this horse.
And Candy's Story took a little bit of money first time out at this level.
Did, and chased wide, a fairly fast early fraction there. Maybe with the race under her belt, she can improve.
And move into a high percentage barn, Chris Hartman, who's pretty good when he gets new ones in his outfit. Minute to post. Let's check in with Gary Stevens.
Yeah, guys, let's talk about some offspring of Run Happy. Keno, the 11 horse here, she's by Run Happy. And I'll tell you, when I rode Run Happy into his final victory in the Malibu Stakes, Grade 1 Malibu Stakes at Santa Anita, he gave me the impression that he could run long. He made his next start in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and everybody thought, well, he can't run long. Why are they even trying that? Well, I got eliminated at the start of that race, and he actually on a speed favoring track that day was the only horse that closed any ground all day long. Unfortunately, he never raced again for that. Fortunately, he went to the breeding barn at Claiborne Farms, and where he stands now. But the thing that I've noticed with his offspring is their intelligence, their athleticism, and they're not one-dimensional. You think of Run Happy and you think of just pure speed. Well, he wasn't just pure speed. He faced adversity in one of his Breeders' Cup victories with Edgar Prado aboard. He had to fight his way through traffic, so he was not just a one-dimensional speed horse. And you look at Happy Soul in her last stakes race, the Dixie here last weekend, and this filly, she faced adversity for the first time in that race. She had won all of her races being on the lead, just pure speed, and she got wiped out at the start of that race and was off the pace for the first time, and then had to sneak through on the fence to finally get the money, and she went on and did it quite easily under John Velasquez. And then we'll take a look at Smile Happy, who just ran second off the bench in the Risen Star, the Grade 2 Risen Star last weekend as well. And he is not one-dimensional. He's a horse that sits off the pace. He likes to sit back, and he was maybe a little too far back in that Risen Star, but it was a great comeback race for him. He fought his way through some traffic, heavy traffic, to come on and be an impressive second in my eyes. So and when you think of Run Happy, it's not just pure speed. This filly Keno, she's going to a different barn today. They did try and stretch her out to a mile and a 16th last time out. She was claimed for $30,000. Villafranco put a halter on her for that $30,000, shortening her back up today. So we'll see how she fares under the new care Villafranco, guys.
All right, Gary, right now she is at 8-1 on the board, getting back to what it looks like she's done better sprinting.
Yeah, I agree. And she's out of a mare, Song of Me. I used to ride the Grand Dam. Song of Africa was real top-notch filly, up to about 7 furlongs in New York, and can run turf or dirt. Really classy mare for John Kimmel. One thing, talking about the Run Happies, he was fast. He's passed on his speed, but from a physical perspective, horses that can carry that speed, that have size and scope, that tell you that they'll get more distance. All good horses possess speed. It's how they use it.
Favorite remains My Coralina, and there she is, that 9, moving in, making her 9th career start. And the first time in her career she is heading to post as the favorite. Start of the pick 4. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
G-Money Live. Pacific Grove. Keno. Last to load, Candy's Story. Romantic Comedy has unseated the rider, and we are going to have a delay.
Well, delay here, I believe the one Romantic Comedy, some issues in the gate.
Yeah, and you'll see what they'll tend to do immediately, Greg, is remove the horses in the immediate vicinity of that horse so that they don't take a risk of getting maybe kicked or stepped on by that horse. So they look like they're getting ready to load right back up. So didn't seem like it might be a really big deal.
Yeah, there's Luis Quinones hopping back aboard, it looks like, inside. Let's go back to Vic Stauffer.
Candy's Story. They're off. My Coralina and Candy's Story break well. G-Money Live is close up. Then comes Mandana and Maggie's Will. Fashionably Quick is next. We have a loose horse up the backstretch. Pacific Grove has unseated the rider. So up the backstretch with G-Money Live, the leader, and it's a 2-length advantage from Mandana at the rail and Maggie's Will. Then to the outside and My Coralina, about to take 4th and 3.5 off the lead. 3 back to Fashionably Quick and Keno. Then another 4-2, Romantic Comedy and Bad Outlook. Cortado, and far behind the field is Final Table. Around the far turn with G-Money Live. Now, My Coralina begins to run after her in second. G-Money Live only 1.5 lengths. My Coralina looms large, and here she comes. When they straighten away, we could very well have a new leader, and we do. My Coralina puts ahead in front. G-Money Live is trying to battle on, but now is 1.5 lengths behind My Coralina, who's clear. 5 lengths further back to Candy Story and Fashionably Quick, but it's My Coralina, a 16th out, and now she's just running up the score. Hanging on her left lead, but it does not matter. My Coralina far in front. G-Money Live, My Coralina. My Coralina won by about 10. It is very close for second between G-Money Live and a flat-flying Bad Outlook. Also, there's Candy's Story.
Well, a scary situation with that 5, Pacific Grove, losing Raylu Gutierrez. In the end, My Coralina just absolutely dominant here.
Well, the money showed up for her. The public was certainly right. 9th time was the charm. She was always in position. Did not change leads, but kept widening through the stretch. Sort of kind of a blur on the inside. The first-time starter, the 7, Bad Outlook, was photoed here for second. That looks like she probably was third, but she was running up the rail late. Kind of figured the game out late in the race.
Keep your eyes on her next time. But no doubt about your winner. Well, she was flying, made that really close for second. That was Bad Outlook for Kenny Smith, the Astrology first-time starter. We're going to take a timeout. We'll have these prices for you when we return. And when we come back, Rob Atris turned a corner last summer with that big win in the Coaching Club American Oaks, and he has kept it rolling here at the winter meet. Stay with us.
turn for Charlatan, who will romp in the Run Happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Yeah, I found the hole. Okay, perfect.
Growing up, really, it's all I ever wanted to do was be at the racetrack. Kind of like a sponge. I wanted to learn as much as I could all the time. I didn't know if I'd be able to get the opportunity to be a trainer. I wanted to learn as much as I could all the time.
I actually was working for his vet. I met him on my very first day on the job. He had zero interest in talking to me. So of course I was interested. We've been together ever since.
She does everything. You know, she helps me out with, you know, the training to, you know, payroll, books, all that kind of stuff. So she definitely couldn't do without her.
I really like spending all day with him, which is pretty great. Yeah.
These two
He's very intellectual, but also very hands-on. He tries to tailor each horse's training to the individuals very much, especially since we have everything from bottom claimers to like Maracuja. She is a monster, I'm telling you. In her stall, she's like a quiet little lamb. She's so sweet. She comes out of the stall and she's like, I'm big and I am in charge and I'm going to run you over.
And they're off in the 105th running of the Coaching Club American Oaks. And Maracuja is out going for the lead.
You know, so many things have to go right to even make a race, never mind win a race. So every week she just, you know, she was showing us that she was going to give us a good effort.
And it is Malathon in front here by a half length. Maracuja right there in second.
We gave her a little vacation in between the Kentucky Oaks and the CCA Oaks. She had like a minor setback, and that's why we missed the Mother Goose, and it actually worked perfect for her. She came back from the farm. She was 2 weeks on the farm. She came back ready.
And Maracuja is now making her move on the outside, so it's three of them across.
We're coming down the stretch, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna be third. All right, that's great. And I'm like, okay, maybe we're gonna be second. And then it was like, oh my God.
Maracuja on the outside, now a furlong to the finish in the Coaching Club American Oaks. It is Malathon. Here's a new challenge from Maracuja on the outside. Malathon and Maracuja, they will battle on to the finish in a terrific rendition here, and it looked like Maracuja got it.
She needed every ounce of the ground to get there, you know.
It was just amazing to see what we thought she was, realized.
You know, just have everything come together. It doesn't happen all the time. To happen in such a big race and to win that race just means a lot. It definitely gives you, you know, confidence going forward.
I would would love to have some more nice young horses. When we first started, we had 7 horses. All of them are claiming horses. And we've been lucky enough to, with our success, we've received some good horses too.
When we started out, we were just happy to win races and you know, just to be here and survive. And we've grown in stable size, but you know, we've tried to do more quality over quantity. Try to lead over a contender every time is basically our goal.
So happy for their success. It's got to be that much more meaningful doing it together as a team.
Absolutely. It's a family affair. You could see the whole team, how jubilant everybody was and the emotion involved when she won the coaching club. That was just tremendous to watch.
Now, this is the one that Rob Atras will send out in the finale coming up, B-Bit. But for the latest on the big filly we heard about, Maracuja, let's go downstairs to Maggie.
And Greg, she has been preparing for a 4-year-old campaign at Oaklawn Park, in which Rob Atras sent her and a handful of horses out there with the ultimate goal being the Apple Blossom the 3rd week in April. Now, the weather out there has not been very forgiving, and so she's only had 3 published works. And Rob had said to me that with the wet tracks, with the frozen tracks as well, that he's come up with a few little foot issues here and there. But the tentative plan's still the Apple Blossom, but he's not sure he's going to make it to the prep race in March. So we'll see. And 2, if she makes it to the Apple Blossom, she's going to have a heavy hitter to contend with in Latruska, who came back and made her 6-year-old debut in the Royal Delta with quite a splash yesterday. Greg?
Well, she's going to have some interesting company if she gets to the Apple Blossom in Latruska, who made her 6-year-old return to the races on February the 26th, just yesterday at Gulfstream, taking the Grade 3 Royal Delta with Jose Ortiz aboard.
Just a tour de force. I mean, she took charge of the race, opened up, and won with a lot left. These are prep races ultimately. They're important. You want to win them, but you want to win them the right way. I think this could be under that category of winning the right way.
Never asked for really any run.
Now here's up. See, just keep an eye on her ears. They're kind of flicking. He's going to tap her on the shoulder just to get her attention, because it looked like she was really losing focus here. But when a horse's ears are up like that, they are not digging in. They're not trying at all. She just won as easily. And that's the kind of race you like to see off the bench for a champion.
So you're supposed to win when you're 1-9. She did. Champion from last year, showing that maybe she's got another championship season in her future.
Well, that's always a question, too, as horses get older. At some point, physically, maybe they lose a step, or mentally they decide they're not as enthusiastic about the game. I didn't see any of that with Latruska.
Well, here again, the Atras runner in the Nightcap coming up. We'll get back to it in a moment. Your winner back at Oaklawn, My Corlina, breaks through, career start number 9. And we saw in that race, Raylo Gutierrez thrown off his mount, Pacific Grove, $6.20 for the win.
As your favorite, 9th start. Public was right. Bad outlook. Did get second. Finished like a flash up the rail.
Well, let's check in with Gary and get the latest on Raylo Gutierrez. Gary?
All good news, guys. I went down, I saw Raylu. There was an inquiry after the running of the race to see what happened. Pacific Grove, she ducked out, causing her own problem. Clipped heels, he went down. He got a ride back in the veterinarian's truck, not the ambulance, so that's good news. He had a big smile on his face when I came. I said, "Are you all right?" He said, "I'm fine." He said, "I'm just a little sore about getting beat yesterday in the Rebel Stakes yesterday for I'm having a brain deal right now." Anyway, the good news is he's fine, guys.
Well, that's the most important thing, and that's good to hear. You've taken your share of spills. Gary's taken his share of spills. He was on Barber Road, of course, who was for John Ortiz, who was closing with fury and maybe closing best of all late. We talked about it at the top of the show. Maybe a horse, as they go longer, you're going to have even more interest in.
Well, and the other thing, too, is the horse has been showing consistency, a consistent close, a horse that shows up every time. And, you know, in a race like Kentucky Derby, you're going to get legitimate pace for a 1.25 mile distance, which helps a horse that has a closing style. I find it interesting, Gary said he was talking about he's just sore about getting beat in the Rebel. That's how riders are. You don't remember the wins. You remember the losses. You remember the ones that got away or that you wish you had a do-over.
And those who bet on the races, it's the same way.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? I can remember more in detail the ones that, gosh, I should have done this and I did that and it got away from me.
Well, this Nightcap, good news on Raylu. That's great to hear. He's okay. Here's my girl Lexi, big price. There's the Apprentice 6-year-old mare again, as you see those prices from back in the 8th Betsy Blue. B-Bit, I thought she was very interesting in this race. She's getting bet like she is. That last was just too bad to believe. And this is one that Rob Apprentice claims, and she has just been incredibly popular in the claim box. You've talked about that earlier in the show. That's just a good sign that trainers want to keep going to the well to get a horse. It means they have talent.
Exactly. These horses, there's so many tools, just like for a jockey to prepare for a race, for a trainer to look at horses, look into it, between, looking at speed figures and looking at replays. And obviously, she's attractive, this 6-year-old mare, for a reason. And she keeps on getting claimed and moving into other barns. And she has dirt races that are more than good enough to win here.
Riders up. There's Manny Franco, hopping aboard Charge Account, who so many, I did Talking Horses this morning. It seems like there's a lot of love for this horse moving back to the Rudy Rodriguez barn.
Well, and that's an angle that we always talk about, too. When horses go from one stable to another, sometimes they just move up because of a difference in routine, a difference in the program.
Yeah, Rudy's having a terrific meet, too. Big long shot went by first, Shadow Lamo. Here's my girl Lexi at 13-1.
Moving up in company, but does possess some speed.
B-Bit, the Apprentice 6-year-old mare.
Major player. I think she's going to be very tough to beat here.
2-1 favorite. Charge Account, some big races to go back to, second off the layoff.
And does have speed as well, should be involved early.
Sweet Mia, she was impressive last start for the level, and now she's going to try and stretch out to a mile.
Yeah, will that stretch out, be good for her? I mean, the fact that she won sprinting from just off the pace, she'll probably be a little bit more involved this time.
Orlando Noda, he just claimed Subiaco.
Yeah, and, a horse that has races that are good enough. Last race left a lot to be desired.
The 8 surprised this big a price here. I thought the Barista Vixen was very interesting.
Another player, a horse that but is moving up in company from 10 to 25, but from a figure standpoint belongs.
Third off the layoff and paired together numbers on the Thoroughgraphs last 2 starts. Annika Gold, 7-1, beat by Lady by Choice last time out.
Yeah, chased her around there last time. Another one that has paired up 2 pretty good numbers.
Did get a ground-saving trip last time out. 7-1 from the outside. So we'll see what happens here in this finale.
It feels like this racetrack is very fair, though. It doesn't seem like any particular path is playing stronger than any other path or any particular style. Horses have been winning from pretty much anywhere. I think it's a very even, fair racetrack.
I'll take a look quickly here at the Will Pays and the pick 5 to the 4. It's $475. $686 to the 3 B-Bit, and it's over $1,100 and much more to everybody else in the field.
Yeah, I think those two are definitely the major players, and I kind of lean towards the 3 a little bit. I think she's going to sit the right kind of trip. She should be close enough and in a good, solid position.
We're going to have to leave you on FS2 here for a little bit, so you can watch on YouTube, New York Racing Association page, or the Fox Sports Go app as well. We apologize for that, but that's where you can catch this Nightcap from New York, and feature still coming up at Oaklawn, St. John's de Paul. College Hoops coming up next on FS2, so stay tuned for that. Again, you can catch us over on YouTube on the New York Racing Association page. We are back, and we're getting set for post time here in this finale. 9-5 favorite remains this Rudy Rodriguez runner first off the claim. Charge Account to 4. Let's go back down to Maggie.
And I wish I could be more creative here in this nightcap, but I can't. Charge Account, she looks best, though a little bit disappointing for the fact that in her last effort, she was with the racetrack, but she was coming back off a considerable layoff. And I remember talking to assistant trainer to Kelly Breen, John Hatfield, and him just saying, gosh, I really like my filly. She's got some talent, and I know I'm going to lose her, but I just wish I had a little bit more time, hinting at the fact that he just thought she wasn't quite as fit as she needed to be. Well, I don't see necessarily any difference in her physically, but she is sharp today. I mean, she was throwing her hind legs. She's very much on her toes. So that's a good sign as well. Now, maybe it's a negative that Rudy drops her in claiming tag, but then again, you're kind of playing the condition book, and these 32s and 25s, they often attract the same horses. So we'll see what Charge Account does. I really like what I'm seeing from her. Where on the flip side, B-Bit, I actually really liked that day in the paddock. I thought she had moved forward, physically. She looked stronger behind. She was against the racetrack. She was chasing wide on a gold rail, but it almost felt as though that effort was too bad just to blame the racetrack. Now she comes back in here. She does not look like your typical Rob Actress horse. It could mean absolutely nothing. As Meg and I always say, it's not a beauty contest. But she does not look as good as what she did back on January 23rd, Greg.
Well, good to take note. Meanwhile, Charge Account, all that money has come her way. 3-2 favorite. First off the claim for Rudy Rodriguez, having a big meet. Manny Franco aboard. She could be forward as well. 8 for 25 lifetime. There she is in the silks of Micropoli. Let's go upstairs for this finale here from New York. John Imbrial, the call.
They're in the gate for the 9th. And they're off. From the inside, Shadolamo, Charge Account is there. And now Sweet Mia moves up, 3 of them across. Far outside, Annika Gold races in 4th. B-Bit is next in 5th. As the field crosses over from the chute to the main track, Shadolamo down at the rail. Charge Account's in between horses, and Sweet Mia is on the outside. And now there's a 4-length gap back to Annika Gold, who is racing in 4th. B-Bit is next in 5th, and My Girl Lexi in 6th. Barista Vixen, and the trailer is Subiaco. Shadolamo, big long shot here, gets away to lead by 3 lengths after a quarter in 23-2. Shadolamo now by 4. Charge Account and Sweet Mia, they are heads apart, 2nd and 3rd. Annika Gold races in 4th, followed by B-Bit in 5th. At the back are Barista Vixen along with Subiaco. My Girl Lexi down at the rail. The half went in 46 and 4/5 seconds. Shadolamo leads. The lead is down to 2 lengths as Charge Account draws closer now. Sweet Mia racing in 3rd. 4 lengths to Annika Gold. On the far outside is Barista Vixen. They're coming for the quarter pole. Shadolamo with the lead. Charge Account giving chase in 2nd. 3/4 went in 1:12-2. It is Shadolamo with the lead. Charge Account is all out in 2nd. Sweet Mia is down at the rail. Then comes B-Bit, and on the outside, Barista Vixen. Shadolamo trying to pull off a huge upset here. She's in front with a 16th to the finish. Charge Account. On the far outside is Barista Vixen, and then B-Bit. They come on for the finish. Shadolamo has done it. Has done it at 54-1.
Shadolamo trying to hang on late and does it a huge number. Oscar Gomez on the 5-year-old mare.
Congratulations to Oscar Gomez, a guy that's easy to root for, hard-working, gets on so many horses in the morning, rides up at Finger Lakes when they're open, up in the Finger Lakes region, upstate New York. He put her on the lead. He took no prisoners from the rail. It started to look desperate late, Greg, but Oscar Gomez gets it done wire to wire on a huge long shot.
Meanwhile, Charge Account to 4, who was trying to make a run at her, checks back, winds up in 4th here.
Yeah, she got tired chasing Shadolamo. But I think this underscores one fact and something we talk about very often. Speed is always dangerous, and you never know when a horse gets clear like that how brave they're going to get. Horses are like other athletes. She just got psyched up. She got confident when she got the lead.
54-1. We've had some huge upsets this weekend. Saudi Cup, Rebel, and now the Nightcap here in New York. 54-1 to close it out. We got a lot more coming up, including the feature from Oaklawn. Stay with us.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Run Happy, the #1 second crop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse Champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Back on America's Day at the races. Huge upset to close out this card in New York. Almost impossible to have. Oscar Gomez rides a lot at Finger Lakes. Just last year, September, got the 1,000th win of his career, and here he shocks everybody with his gate-to-wire win.
And as nice a person as you're ever going to meet, Oscar, hardworking, down to earth, shows up and does his job day after day after day, and gets it done by being aggressive, showing speed from the rail. Congratulations to Eduardo Jones, owner, trainer, and Shadalamo at $111 even.
Gonna help those exotics. Hopefully you had coverage here in the last. Pick 5, $17,221. And as a result of Shadalamo, we have a carryover in the pick 6 for next week. Here's a look at that return. Amundsen, it was a wide open race, 9-1 though, and then 54-1 shot to close it out, get you 17,000 back. Wow.
Odmanson, though, had races, though, that he could go back to that would make him a contender, change of style for him, big, strong closing finish.
Tough to say Shadalamo did.
No, Shadalamo, I mean, honestly, that's a race that we haven't seen, but sometimes you make the lead and everybody gets tired chasing you.
Back to Oaklawn, the 7th race here, $30,000 claiming race, 6-furlong sprint coming up in this spot. Let's check in again with Gary.
Yeah, guys, let's talk about the one-horse Casuarine Pass coming off of a layoff here for the connections of Robertino Diodoro, M&M Stables, and David Cohen. David is pretty much the #1 rider for M&M Stables, and with that comes being #1 rider for Robertino Diodoro for the fact that they have so many horses together. Now, this meet has been peaks and valleys for them the entire meet. They started off the first 3 weeks of the meet horses were running well. They just weren't getting into the winner's circle. A lot of seconds early on, and then they started winning races by the bunches. Like I said, this game is peaks and valleys, and they're in one of those valleys right now. The nice thing that David has, when you are the #1 rider for a barn, there can be pressure. They can start pointing fingers, blaming this person, that person, why things aren't going well. That's not the case with David. These people, M&M Stables, have been very, very loyal to David for a number of years, and his agent, Billy Castle, along with Robertino Diodoro. So be interesting to see when things pick up for these guys again. I know it will come soon. Guys?
Welcome back to those rejoining us on FS2. Good to have you back with us here as we have more coming up from Oaklawn, including their feature still ahead. Right now it's the 7th from Oaklawn as you're catching America's Day at the Races. Greg Wolf, Richard Migliori, Hall of Famer Gary Stevens live in Hot Springs. And this 7th race here coming up, Gary was just talking about Robertino Diodoro, David Cohen with the 1 caster and pass. Showed speed and went gate to wire last time out and gets the rail today off the bench.
But there is other speed she's going to have to contend with in here, so that could make it a difficult task for her. She hasn't run since November. I've always felt like horses that possess speed coming off of freshenings or layoffs have it harder because they have to run more of the race. They have to be fitter because they're going to, show speed and be in a fight early, where horses that close and make like a 1/4 mile run don't have to be quite as fit. So I do think there's some questions here for the 1 caster and pass because I do think she's going to face pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you get the 3 wants to go, the 4 Canadian Ginger seems like she wants to go, Northern Diamond, the 6 Speed as well. There's quite a bit of early pace, it would appear, in the 7th.
Well, it looks like that's why the 2 Caleb the Great is taking so much money. I think she sits the right kind of trip, gets to save ground, and gets to close, and I think that's really going to help her.
This was the last effort from her. She missed by a neck, getting a decent pace to run into, and she was well clear of invaluable 3rd in this race, who would have been a player in here. She was scratched.
Yeah, but what you have to like here is the fact that she rallied in between horses. She was behind horses. She projects to get a similar trip today, so you know she's brave. She's not going to back off because of the kickback or because of traffic, that she's got that courage that you need for a horse that closes, particularly when she's drawn towards the inside. I like what I saw there. I thought the 11 was a little interesting, Cherish, because I think she's going to get a similar, kind of positive setup in this race.
Takes a big, big drop as well. She faced Sarah Harper, very talented filly, a couple of starts back, coming out of back-to-back money earned allowance races. Let's get Jonathan Kinchin's thoughts here as we close in on the 7th.
Yeah, guys, I mean, I thought it was pretty straightforward here with the 2 Galib the Great. This is a horse that ran well last time. Ran a winning race, broke extremely slow. Probably cost this horse about 5 to 6 lengths at the beginning. This horse was also coming in off a little bit of a break. So basically, the race 2 back absolutely lays over this field, and I think we're going to see that performance based on the fact the horse broke so slowly last time. The horse was coming in off of a little bit of a layoff, and you're switching to a Hall of Famer's barn. Give me the 2 in here at, I think we were 8 to 5 not too long ago. 3 to 2, a little bit shorter, but you can spend that money too.
Pretty confident from JK, 3rd off the bench for a 6-year-old mare who, at least it looks like, as we talked about the pace scenario, she's going to get plenty of pace to run at.
Yeah, and again, if she was a horse that I thought would react negatively to the kickback and being in behind horses, but that race just pointed out how brave she is. I'm not concerned with the post or any of that at all. I think she's going to be very tough to beat.
We talk about pace a lot. West Coast speed, do you think it's the best coast speed? The 3's coming in from the West Coast, very quick.
You show speed in California, you're quick.
Yep. Vic Stauffer, here's the 7th.
They're at the post. They're off. Terrible start for KGB. Not much better for Galib the Great. Kasserine Pass and Northern Diamond shows speed. Canadian Ginger and Untouched Elegance. These four go fast. Catechism away in fifth. Then comes Cherished and Gallop the Great and KGB. 4 across the track into the far turn. Kasserine Pass, Untouched Elegance, Canadian Ginger, and a 4-wide Northern Diamond. Those 4 separated by about a half length. 2.5 back to Catechism, another 3 to Cherished. Gallop the Great has 6 lengths to make up, and she's a length in front of KBG. That foursome is down to 2, and they are Kasserine Pass and Northern Diamond. Kasserine Pass alongside Norman Diamond, and these two are now 5 in front of Cherished, who moves through at the rail into third. Gallop the Great takes fourth, top of the stretch. Kasserine Pass and Northern Diamond. Kasserine Pass now a length in front. Northern Diamond going to try to come after her. Then comes Cherished, and you better take a look at Cherished. And Gallop the Great is running strongly in the center. Kasserine Pass joined by Cherished. Gallop the Great to the outside. Now it's down to these two. It is Cherished or Gallop the Great. Cherished, Gallop the Great, Cherished in front. Cherished beat Gallop the Great. Kasserine Pass was third. Northern Diamond fourth.
Cherished, Mig. Nice call here. Raylu Gutierrez. What price did she go off at?
She wound up, I believe, going off at 7-1 and just got an absolutely flawless ride from Raylu Gutierrez. He, from that outside post, got to the rail, saved all the ground, was able to come out, split horses, while the two, Gallop the Great, had to come out and around horses and go wide, and that was the difference in victory and defeat, saving the ground where he could. And from that post, no small trick. Good ride from Raylu, and the two logical closers. It looked like the race was going to kind of come back to them.
As you pointed out to me, no one was afraid to use their speed in this race, in a race full of it. 4 of them tried to vie for the front. And how about Raylu Gutierrez' race earlier? He was dumped from his mount, comes right back and wins.
And he's probably still mad about the Rebel.
No question he is. But he's got to feel really good about that performance, too, on Barber Road, who looks like well, no question he has every chance to move on, but he looks like as the distances get longer, he's going to get even better. Nightcap from New York, for those that missed it on FS2. We're going to show it to you right now. 54-1 shot on the front end, who everyone expects going to get run down here by the 4, the big 3-2 favorite for Rudy Rodriguez. This horse hangs on.
She hung on. She was game. Looked like, you know, the last 1/8 of a mile, she was starting to get a little bit hungry, a little bit lean, but she got it done. If I was the third base coach right here, I'd be yelling, slide, slide. But Oscar Gomez put her on the lead, and she kept on going at $111 to win, $34.60 to place, $13.20 to show.
Pick 5 comes back 17,000 plus because of that, and no one able to put together the pick 6 combination, so there'll be a carryover heading into next week. You have that to look forward to. We're going to take a time out. When we return, speaking of Barber Road, we'll look back on the Derby prep from Saturday in Hot Springs and the New York bred one-eyed wonder Un Ojo, his big moment. Stay with us.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery was a multiple graded stakes winner at 2, including this victory in the Los Alamitos Cash Call Futurity. Now his progeny are bringing top dollar in the sales ring, and his first runners are hitting the track. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the Races on FS2, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Back at Oaklawn in the 7th, Cherished coming up with a win here, 6th win of her career, and a mare that you liked in this spot. Good call.
Yeah, I just thought she was a very logical closer along with the runner-up, and she got a great trip and ride from Raylu Gutierrez. Got to save ground, cut the corner, come up between horses, and had enough left to hold off your favorite. And the value we always talk about, that's a generous exacta, 45.60 for 2 with the favorite second, Caleb the Great. But Cherish, nice ride, good trip, well spotted.
8th at Oaklawn. Featured event, allowance optional, claiming 2-turn mile and a 16th coming up. We talked about this race at the top of the show. W.W. Fitzy coming off that win for a barn who one of the best in the business, but struggling a little bit at this meet right now by their standards. W.W. Fitzy went gate to wire last start. Misty Vale next door has speed to contend with. It'll be a good one coming up in this feature. We'll get back to it in a bit. We're going to look back to Saturday and the road to the Triple Crown that went exclusively yesterday through Hot Springs, Arkansas in the Grade 2 Rebel. 50 points to the winner and basically a guaranteed starting spot at the Kentucky Derby outside of Newgrange, who Bob Baffert's horse is not eligible to get into that Derby starting gate. But Baffert with Newgrange, that was the undefeated horse coming in. The 2, Unoho, the New York bred, though, running a big race and getting a great trip.
No, he ran 2 bang-up races here in New York. Was second in the last stake we ran here was the Withers. No, the next one. Sorry, the Jerome. And he was second in the New York bred race as well. Yeah, it was the Withers. I'm sorry. It's interesting. He's a horse with one eye. He has his outside eye, the right eye, not the inside eye, the left eye. And I think rallying inside allowed him to still see the competition, where in the New York Stallion Stakes when he was second, he rallied outside. I think he lost vision of the horse inside of him because that's the eye that's impeded. I think him being able to see company, see other horses, him being a herd animal, and horses with one eye have a tendency to be stronger herd animals. They feel safer with the pack. I think it really helped him rallying down the inside. And a horse that's shown ability and he's game. And Lauban, a sire, unfortunately, that passed away far too soon, has been throwing runners from a very small sampling.
Credit to, it was a big win for Ricky Corville, and I believe it was his son who actually broke this horse and thought he was going to be very good from early on. But a lot of credit, too, to Anthony Dutrow, who had this horse in New York. He said really a team effort from both these guys, but owners wanted to send him to the Rebel so he'd go 2 turns. Let's go to Gary Stevens, our Hall of Famer, and it was a fun Saturday, Gary, but there's a couple of horses coming out of this race that you can make a big case for going on this Triple Crown Trail.
Yeah, you really can. But I'm going to talk about Ramon Vasquez's ride on Unoho and what he did. He saved ground around the first turn. He was in a perfect stalking position, and Ramon has excelled this whole meet in the stake races. He has ice water running through his veins, and he's performing at his best in the bigger races. And he was at his best yesterday riding this race, cutting the corner, coming through. He never gave up on it, and I think what Richie said makes a lot of sense, that the horse could see his competition once he felt that, and coming through on the rail, rallying, it really helped. Barber Road, he ran a terrific race in defeat, along with a thorough road for Wayne Lucas. I love that Wayne Lucas is back in the Derby picture, not with just one horse, but maybe a filly. We'll talk about that in a little bit, guys.
Yeah, that's Secret Oath, who we're excited to talk about. I think after this ride, people are going to start calling him Railmon Vasquez.
Yeah, I mean, you listen, saving ground's so important. You know, most horses aren't so much dominant than their competition that you can afford to give away ground. Ground basically translates into lengths. He won the race by a neck. Saving the ground had to make a huge difference there.
No question. And just a neat story, and a New York bred, a one-eyed wonder coming up big behind a tremendous ground-saving ride. Take a look at the road to the Derby out in Hot Springs. The big one next, that Arkansas Derby, 100 points to the winner, guaranteeing a spot in that Kentucky Derby. And as Gary alluded to, we may be seeing a filly in that race tackling the boys. Dwayne Lucas and the coach with a very impressive performance with Secret Oath in that Grade 3 Honeybee.
She is special, and she's a filly that's just getting better seemingly with every start, and I love the fact that she's brave. She overcame a little bit of adversity. They were ganging up on her a little yesterday.
We'll talk more about her coming up in our next segment, so you don't want to miss it. The coach back in the spotlight, not only with a Derby contender, but one of the best 3-year-old fillies in the country. We'll talk Secret Oath right after this.
Introducing a stallion, as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade 1s, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus Spire speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
With 5 champions, 70-plus stakes winners, there is arguably no better proven stallion value than Sky Mesa. Among his leading progeny is Grade 1 Spinaway Stakes winner, Perfect Alibi.
Perfect Alibi runs in her.
Sky Mesa has a higher percentage of black-type horses to starters than More Than Ready, Malibu Moon, Kitten's Joy, Hard Spun, Candy Ride, and Street Sense.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com.
Back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Good to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. Our program brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. We talked about it briefly in that last segment. Dwayne Lucas, he has a very talented Ethereal Road. Took a big move forward in his first try in graded stakes company. He's got a filly, though, who might be, outside of Echo Zulu, the best 3-year-old filly in the country. She was impressive in the Honeybee. She's now put together 3 consecutive wins by more than 23 lengths combined.
It's so impressive, too. It's just, she's got such a stride reminiscent of her sire, Arrogate. Unfortunately, another sire that we lost too early. Kind of runs with her head out and down, reaches the ground. Maybe a little bit reminiscent of Gary Stevens' Derby winner in Winning Colors, the way she kind of attacked the ground. I'm going to get Gary's take on that, but she's impressive. She ran faster than the boys, and she looks like she's one that just keeps continually going forward and improving.
Yeah, both those races, the Rebel and this Grade 3 Honeybee, at 1.16 miles. Unoho, winner of the Rebel, 84 buyer. Secret Oath, a 92 buyer in this win. So Dwayne Lucas, who before this performance was even thinking this filly might be up to the task of tackling the boys in the Arkansas Derby, probably feels that even more now as you take a look at all of his winners in the Honeybee. He's got 6 total now.
Just incredible. And, you know, Wayne continually riding out on his pony in the morning. You just got to admire how long he's done it and the fact that he's back in the show, basically. You know, having contenders in the big 3-year-old races this year, it always makes the Triple Crown and the Kentucky Oaks, the 3-year-old fillies trail more interesting and fun when Wayne's involved.
Well, let's go to Gary Stevens. Gary, you, of course, won a Kentucky Derby on a filly for the coach. How good is this filly, and does she deserve a shot against the boys?
If she continues on with her dominance, she definitely deserves the chance. Whether Wayne will do that or not, I don't know, but I think he will. I remember back in the day when I was riding Thunder Gulch, there was Timber Country in the race and Serena's Song. And that's back in the day when he had a barn full of them that were going to be Kentucky Derby contenders. I think it's great that he's got a Derby contender and at least an Oaks favorite on his hands right now. So we'll wait and see what she does. But her dominance has grown with the ease that she's winning these races with. And yesterday she had a giant target on her back. And Luis Contreras, he got into some trouble around the turn. He was blocked, and he had to steady and wait and wait and wait, and actually broke her momentum a little bit. She was pulling. Somehow he found a gap down on the inside, and her acceleration is instantaneous. When he calls on her, she's there for him. And I heard what Richie said yesterday. She moves like a turf filly, and she has the acceleration on the dirt like a turf horse, a good turf horse has, with that sudden burst of speed. So I'm anxious to see how good she is, and I don't think we've seen the best of her yet, guys.
She has been absolutely sensational. And, you know, Echo Zulu, obviously the leader of this division, 2-year-old champion filly, but we've yet to see her come back yet in her 3-year-old campaign. But Dwayne Lucas has to be so excited of what he has in this daughter of Arrogate.
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, Echo Zulu has been so brilliant. Like you said, we haven't seen her as a 3-year-old yet, and it'll be interesting to see if she improved from 2 to 3. Everybody's going to have their hands full. But Secret Oath is good. You know, Gary talked about it. She had a target on her back. When you're on the big favorite, everybody's keying on you. And the fact that she could accelerate through spots. You know, it's one thing to get the spot. Then you got to be fast enough and shifty enough to get to the spot before it closes. And I love what I saw from her. Brave on top of ability. That's good.
If Dwayne has any designs on running the Kentucky Derby, she's going to have to run in that Arkansas Derby because you're not collecting points running against your own division as a filly for that Kentucky Derby. So there will basically be one more shot at it.
I bet he would love to see Echo Zulu make a return and see how she comes back as a 3-year-old, because maybe it's more attractive to avoid her in the Oaks and go against the boys in the Derby. Also, a mile and a quarter of the Kentucky Derby should suit Secret Oath very well.
We're going to take a time out. When we come back, we'll get to the feature on this Sunday card at Oaklawn. W.W. Fitzy, the 5 for Robertino Diodoro. A major contender here with David Cohen looking to go back-to-back.
Harris Farms, proudly standing Smiling Tiger, a triple Grade 1 winner, defeating Breeders' Cup champions Dancing in Silks and Amazombie, a leading California sire with over $9.7 million in progeny earnings, with 94 winners in 2021 and graded stakes superstars like Spice Perfection.
Spice Perfection wins the Grade 1 La Brea.
And Tiger Dad. Smiling Tiger, a leading California sire, standing at Harris Farms. It pays to be Cal bred.
Back on America's Day at the Races, we get the feature coming up next at Oaklawn. Race 8, mile and a 16th. An allowance optional claiming field. And a field of 6, including a mare that Gary Stevens was talking about way earlier in the show, a few hours back, the Mary Rose for John Ortiz. That's a look at Candura, another one you can make a big case for. She's 4-1 right now for Jerry Hollendorfer.
I think it's a really competitive race, and I see a lot of speed signed on in here. The Mary Rose last time wound up on the lead in the Houston Ladies Classic, and I thought she got a little bit too free, maybe a little bit too keen. I hope she sits a pocket trip, gets some cover, finds herself a little more relaxed in behind a couple of that speed.
Yeah, that's what she did 2 back when she won here at Oaklawn on December the 31st. And here it is. We're going to show it to you. She was 18-1 in this race, and she winds up winning by 7 3/4 lengths.
And look at the acceleration. Sometimes horses are widening. It's not that they're accelerating, it's the horses behind them are stopping. She accelerated. You could see her bear down and really finish this deal. But she saved energy in the tank. And, you know, she wasn't keen. She sat quietly and just finished the deal. I hope she gets a similar trip and finishes with that kind of energy.
Well, Connections were so impressed by that performance. They put her in a grade 3 next time out, and that's where you said maybe a little too keen, and they went to the front. You're on the rail, though, today. So there's definitely plenty of others who want to go to the front. What is Raylu Gutierrez? How does he work out a trip here?
I think you break quietly into your hands. You don't take a hold of her, but you don't ask her because you don't want to set her off. You don't want to make her keen. Sometimes you ask a horse, you can't take it back. Allow that speed to go over and just follow right in behind him, much like he did that day. And when he tipped out to the clear, she had so much left in the tank. You know, think about a horse's oxygen level like a gas gauge. You know, you're in your car, you keep it floored the whole way, you're going to go through gas quicker. It's the same thing with a horse's oxygen level. You want to save some.
Here is Raylu Gutierrez on the 9-5 favorite right now.
Yeah, I want to see her nice, settled, covered up, follow the pace.
Blessed again, Tiago Pereira.
Another one that should have more of a stalking kind of a trip.
10-1, double-digit odds, was just second, beat a length behind Willful Woman last time out. 19-1 next door on another one who could show some pace. Used to have sprint speed, Wellington Wonder.
It's definitely another one that could be involved early.
Leading rider at the meet, Francisco Arrieta aboard at a big number. Misty Vale, she's won her last 2. Gate to wire on the front end for trainer Tom Amos.
Tom Amos understands the value of speed. He allows his horses to use their speed. She didn't make the lead 3 starts back, because she bobbled at the break. She breaks clean. She's going to be involved.
W.W. Fitzy was able to be in front and go gate to wire last start here at Oaklawn.
Why would you change a style coming off a victory, an impressive victory? She is going to be a part of the pace as well.
10 for 27 lifetime with her. And then Candura, she will stretch back out for Jerry Hollendorfer.
Well, she's coming out of sprints, so she's going to be close. I won't say she's going to be committed or involved in the pace, but coming out of sprint races with fast paces, you've got to think she's going to be somewhat close as well.
Just seems like she hasn't had a lot of opportunities, and the time she did try a mile on dirt, it was a stakes race, but seems like she's been a little bit better sprinting.
Yeah, I agree, but, you know, especially when they're sharp coming out of the sprint, sometimes you get a little bit keen. She should be close.
Let's head back to Gary Stevens.
Yeah, guys, Richie, you just take the words right out of my mouth every time that you speak, because we handicapped this race identical here. Look, there's so much speed early on. I think that the Mary Rose, Misty Vale, they're going to be the first flight. I think the second flight is going to be Wellington Wonder and W.W. Fitzy. So we've got 2 sets, and then we've got Blessed again, the 2-horse, who Tiago Pereira's aboard, coming off of a nice race off the layoff. Maybe a bit quick back for her, but I'm going to land on Candura, the 6-horse, for Jerry Hollendorfer and Christian Torres, because I'm like you. I think there's going to be a lot of heat on early on. I'm looking for a horse to come from off the pace to get the job done, guys.
All right, Gary, thank you. 4-1 on Candura from that outside post. And you got options being drawn outside.
Well, exactly, and you can break quietly, kind of see what's going on inside of you. Puts Gary at a little bit of disadvantage that I get to go first. You're right. I mean, I kind of get first run at it, but I think if the Mary Rose is going to be successful, though, it's going to be Raylu getting her to switch off a little bit better than she did in Texas. Now, also she had a ship there, and she's going over from her own stall here. Sometimes those little subtle things that they're in their routine, things don't change that much. You know, it makes it easier for a horse to settle.
Meanwhile, for W.W. Fitzy, the 5, her best recent success has come when she's able to be on the front end and forward. She might be hard-pressed to be alone on the front end today. Jonathan, what do you think?
Well, the interesting thing about W.W. Fitzy is that if you look at some of her back races, she can come from off of it. So she doesn't have to make the lead. She made the lead last time, and it was an impressive race. But I think it's important to keep in mind, we kind of talked earlier, we had that winner earlier in the card talking about Robertino Diodoro and how he's kind of been cold as of late to his standards. The stat that I read you from Marshall Graham's Twitter was starting January 28th. This performance was on January 23rd, kind of before things started to take a turn for the worse. And so I'm just hoping that WW Fitzy just is that type of animal. I'm hoping that this is the speed of the speed. And although I see Gary's point with the 6 Candura, my fear is that she's just not fast enough, even if she gets a setup. Now, in New York, I guarantee you there's a slow pace, right? There's a lot of speed in here. They all grab and take back, and someone gets loose, and we're all mad at the jocks room. At Oaklawn, they typically, if it looks like there's going to be a fast pace, there usually is a fast pace. I would think that WW Fitzy will not be a part of that pace. I'm hoping that they'll ride this horse a little bit differently. David Cohen, drawn towards the outside, can see all the speed inside of him go, and then he can get the trip that Gary was thinking and Meg were thinking, hoping that Candura gets. That's my hope. I know it's a little bit contradictory to what I was saying earlier about Diodoro, but you got to call it like you see it. Let's go with the 5, WW Fitzy.
And this is really an interesting race because just about everybody in here at one time or another fairly recently has shown the ability to be forward and be in front. So pace early in this race is going to be very interesting.
I really think the tactics into the first turn are going to tell the tale here. And I got to think, Raylu Gutierrez has been riding in really good form, and he's a rider that seems to really learn from riding a particular horse. And he's ridden, the Mary Rose 2 different ways. Last time when she got a little bit too keen, she had no cover, she was outside, and how well she ran the time before. And he's thoughtful, and I think he'll try to revert back to those tactics. And I think that's the key. If she switches off, she's going to be tough to beat.
And there is Raylu, 2 back. Just dominant here at Oaklawn, and then you have forward on the front end and backed up, but in a grade 3 as well. I mean, that's part of the equation, too. I mean, maybe that was just a lot tougher company trying to do it on the front end.
Yeah, and, with the likes of Pauline's Peril, who, was a really nice filly for Steve Asmussen. But, watching the race last time in Texas, I made a comment about 3/8 of a mile in the race. She's just pulling too much. Horses don't stay distances when they pull. They've got to settle. They've got to come off the bridle at some point. And that doesn't mean they can't be on the lead. It's how relaxed they're doing it. And when I say it's not how fast they're going, it's how they're going fast. If they're settled and using themselves efficiently, no matter where they're placed in the race.
She remains the 2-1 favorite from that inside post for trainer John Ortiz, who Gary was talking about earlier on, who looks like he has a legitimate Kentucky Derby contender in Barber Road. Got a pretty nice sprinter who's won a couple of times at the meet named Garhole, who we're looking forward to seeing back again. And the Mary Rose trying to win for the 2nd time at this meet as well.
Yeah, and she's already shown a fondness and affinity for Oaklawn. 4 victories there. She is an Arkansas bred. John Ed Anthony, short-leaf stable, those colors so prominent in my youth coming around when he campaigned the likes of Temperance Hill and Cox's Ridge. So many good horses with Joe Canty here in New York over time. So it's nice to see, their kind of reemergence as a major player, and particularly at Oaklawn, where John Ed Anthony has been such an avid supporter of for years.
And, Jonathan talked about WW Fitzy, the 5, that she doesn't have to have the lead to win. Although recently her best performances, or her wins anyway, have been when she's been on the lead. For Misty Vale next door, the 4, it almost seems like she has to be in front if she wants to win, doesn't it?
The only time she wins is when she's in front. And, again, jockeys have styles, trainers have styles. Tom Amoss understands the importance and the value of speed. And he's not a trainer that wants his riders to grab or take a hold. He wants them to let them use their natural weapon. And for Misty Vale, her natural weapon is certainly her speed.
Trying to make it 3 in a row. 4-year-old filly by Tonalist, the 4, Misty Vale, at 5-2 for our colleague Tom Amoss. We're always rooting for him. And a filly who's been pretty consistent, too. 9 times in 14 starts. There she is on the screen. She's been 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, and you go back, again, 3 starts back, she was compromised because she got off to a clumsy beginning. She didn't stumble. She bobbled, but was kind of sloppy out of the gate and didn't show her normal speed. Then obviously the last 2 times, allowed to bounce freely onto the lead, and that's when she did her best performance. Some horses, too, they're just not good when they won't overcome adversity. They're good front runners because they get brave. They get, think about the last race here, the filly winning with Oscar Gomez. Shadalamo. They get brave. They just they blow up. They get confident. And they breathe better. Everything's easier for them. Misty Vale seems to be that sort.
Doesn't seem like a race, though, where she's going to get to breathe easy.
I don't think she'll get an easy time of it. Like the last race we saw it, there were 4 speeds on paper, and there were 4 across the track at Oaklawn. Guys don't take it away from them there.
And, there's the Mary Rose, the one stepping into the gate. That big win, 2 back, it seems like that's what also, too, look, she's coming out of a grade 3.
Sure.
But that win, 2 back, the figure she got, she's never come close to that figure before. She obviously didn't reproduce it next time out. Was it a one-hit wonder?
Well, that is the biggest question, I believe.
Feature on this Sunday card from Oaklawn. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
They're at the post. They're off. Blessed Again, the Mary Rose, and a very hard scent Misty Vale. To the outside, WW Fitzy, and those 4 are fairly flying early. Misty Vale and WW Fitzy will clear off from the Mary Rose and Blessed Again. Then Wellington Wonder, and the early trailer is Kendura. Misty Vale wanted that lead, and she's got it from WW Fitzy in second. The Mary Rose will sit third at the rail for Raylu Gutierrez, and she's 2 from the front and a length in front of Blessed Again. Another 2 lengths to Wellington Wonder, and the trailer is Kendura. 8 lengths first to last, and Misty Vale, trying for 3 in a row, is the leader. WW Fitzy is tracking her in second, 3/4 of a length off the lead. The Mary Rose stays at the rail, tucked in, and 2 from the front. Then comes Blessed Again. She's got 3 lengths to make up. She's 3 in front of Wellington Wonder, and Kendura is reserved at the back of the pack, and they leave the backstretch with Misty Vale and WW Fitzy still 1-2. Misty Vale, 3/4 of a length. WW Fitzy is second. Blessed Again is 3 wide in third. The Mary Rose stays tucked in at the rail. Kendura's out of last place. She now has 4 lengths to make up. Wellington Wonder is the trailer, and here's WW Fitzy outside of Misty Vale. WW Fitzy, Misty Vale. Now the Mary Rose will angle off the fence, and here she comes with a 3 wide charge. Many chances, top of the stretch. WW Fitzy, the Mary Rose in the center, and here comes the Mary Rose. Here comes the Arkansas bred. And here comes the filly owned by John Ed Anthony. And look at her blow away. Misty Vale second. The Mary Rose. 3 wins. Raylu Gutierrez, the Mary Rose, won by 6. Misty Vale second. WW Fitzy third. Kendura finished 4th.
Well, we got our answer to the question of, was that win for real 2 starts back? Indeed, it was. This was even more impressive.
And the key to the race was her getting an opportunity to switch off. She got covered up behind horses. Raylu Gutierrez had a handful of horse in behind horses, waiting for room, was able to extricate himself from behind horses coming off the quarter pole, and she accelerated much like she did 2 starts back. This filly is a filly that needs to switch off to show her best. I think last time she probably wouldn't have won, but she'd have run much better if she hadn't been so keen. He got cover. What a good ride. The Raylu Gutierrez, the 3rd win today, and all 3 of those wins, he contributed really top-class rides. Mary Rose was good today,
yes.
And I love the way she finished.
And a rider, too, who had the good with the bad. He took a spill in a race. He came right back and won, winds up having a multiple win afternoon. And the fact, too, that he learned something from last time with her, it just shows the thought he puts into it.
Well, that's it. Your best riders are thoughtful. They learn from the experiences they have with horses, and he obviously learned how she needs to be ridden.
Got to say goodbye to those watching on FS2. Coming up next, it's Canada, El Salvador, under-20 women's soccer. You can continue to see the rest of our program on our YouTube page or Bally Sports Southern California or San Diego.
Irish Hill and Duchess View Stallions, proudly standing the ultra-fast, multiple stakes winning son of Uncle Mo, King for a Day, the only horse to defeat 2019 three-year-old champion Maximum Security.
Well, King for a Day was basically a clone of Uncle Mo. I mean, good speed, the ability to carry it over distance of ground, real professional horse and a really cool horse to train.
Sire maker extraordinaire Uncle Mo, represented in New York by King for a Day. Visit ihdvstallions.com to book your mare today.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Run Happy, the #1 second prop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
The first time I ever entered the gates of Alapa, at first I was pretty nonchalant. I've seen a lot of farms, and I came here and the gates opened, and for me it was magical. It was like something I've never seen before. You know, the goal has always been to sort of try to have a vibrant thoroughbred farm, a bucolic, unique setting, respectful of all the buildings, everything in the past. It's a bit eclectic because Mr. Sims, one of the original owners of the farm, bought a horse from Europe called Prince Palatine, who I think is the third grandsire of Prince Quillo, a very prominent horse in Europe. And the horse died in a barn fire. And he said, well, no horse will ever die here in a fire again. So everything he built was stone and concrete, which today the challenge is that first in craftsmanship, availability of materials, and the expense would be impossible. So everything is here is done in stone. Our primary goal is obviously to be a great thoroughbred farm, to be the best we can be, stand the greatest stallions, raise the best horses. I believe the land gives us this opportunity. All our neighbors have been voices of the past of greatness. It's beautiful, but what are we here to see? Midnight Pursue or Take Charge Brandy, or here's a yearling by Tappet, and here's a yearling by Into Mischief, and well, it's beautiful, and you're here to see Curlin. Beautiful, and you're here to see Gosapper. He's an old veteran, but a great sire, great broodmare sire. Kitten's Joy has been 8 or 9 consecutive years the leading turf sire. Another great horse. Very excited about Army Mule, undefeated horse that we own with St. Elias. They're yearlings this year. Good Magic yearlings this year. Champion son of Curlin. I view the Stallion Barn as a NFL, NHL, college, any kind of team. Constant recruitment, try to get the best athlete you can. There's a great past, there's a great present, and hopefully there's a great future.
At Alapa. Feature in the books at Oaklawn. Mary Rose, impressive again, just as she was 2 starts back here at Oaklawn in a return to Hot Springs, coming out of a grade 3, arguably more impressive.
Yeah, she was covered up. She had to wait for room. Ray Lou Gutierrez did a terrific job being able to extricate her from, kind of a tricky switch she was in around the far turn. Looked like at one point he had a steady. She was a little bit keen changing leads, but her saving that energy, that gas gauge I talk about until she turned for home and then kick it into gear, This is a real nice effort, and I think they figured out her whole card. Get her switched off more. Don't let her run too freely.
5th win of her career. They have all come here at Oaklawn. That may be the key as well. Stay in Hot Springs. Set up the nightcap for you. We will be off the air when this runs, but you can catch it on Naira Bets. Going to close out the card with a 1/16 state-bred maiden special weight. And it looks like a lot of ways to go in this race. Wheel and Springs from the inside taking some money for Shortleaf Stable, Ray Lou, and John Ortiz.
Yeah, and looking for his 4th win of the day. Ray Lou Gutierrez riding in terrific form. A kid who had his apprentice allowance here in New York, kind of bounced around, but he's really gotten in form since Jose Santos Jr. has taken his book, really gotten him live mounts to showcase his ability. And when a guy rides live horses, his confidence level blossoms. Every athlete needs confidence, and a jockey in particular, you need a little bit of swagger.
And Jose Santos Jr., one of the busiest guys in the sport, representing, what, about 6 riders?
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? He always had an affinity for following the game, understanding the game. I remember when he was little, following his dad around, especially through the funny side days when he won the Kentucky Derby. He always had that kind of computer-like brain for the game. Not too dissimilar to my son Joseph. They just have that love of the game, so it's easy for them to follow.
We talked about some big prices yesterday. One started off at Cross Country Pick 5. It was a shocker in the Saudi Cup, that $20 million purse. Big American contingent that came to this race, including Mandaluna Midnight Bourbon, meeting for the 7th time in their careers. Country Grammar, running huge off the bench for Bob Baffert. But Emblem Road, local horse, in graded stakes company for the first time, shocks everybody.
Just kept grinding down the middle of the track on his wrong lead, his left lead through the stretch. Wigberto Ramos, always a very strong finisher, just kept at him. He kept coming. Country Grammar held off Midnight Bourbon for second. It looked like Midnight Bourbon's race to win, turning for home. He had worked out a beautiful trip, came out from behind horses, and looked like he was just going to kick on and get it done. But Emblem Road had different ideas, and Wigberto Ramos, 53 years old. I remember back in 1993, he won the Florida Derby on a horse named Bull in the Heather for Howie Tesher. And he looks the same finishing on a horse today as he did in 1993. That's remarkable. So Wigberto Ramos, his nickname is Wiggy. He was getting wiggy with it.
Yes, he was. From the man who got Miggy with it in his career. What a moment to win a $20 million race and beating this was, I think, a deeper field than last year's, potentially top to bottom than last year's Saudi Cup.
Yeah, I agree. I think a couple horses were no-shows on the night. A couple horses that had position. Mishwish was a little bit keen, I thought, and pulling maybe a little bit too much. But take nothing. The winner was very good.
For Midnight Bourbon, a horse always shows up. He's always in the mix. Is there a big, major race with his name on it in the near future?
He needs to show that killer instinct at crunch time. He's really starting to feel like a horse that likes to run with horses as opposed to running by horses. You know, a horse by nature is a herd animal. Some of them, that herd instinct is stronger. He seems very content to run with the pack, not in front of the pack.
Mandaloon, bit of a disappointment, but he's a horse, too, that over his career has been just incredibly consistent, usually showing up.
Yeah, I think he just had a bad night. You know, I've always said I'll forgive a horse one bad effort, and I won't coronate a champion off of one big effort. He's usually consistent. Also, they traveled a long way. You don't know sometimes how that will affect different horses. You know, sometimes they get a little more dehydrated than their handlers realize from the long, arduous trip.
Country Grammar now a major player, too, in this division. That was off a 270-day layoff, that performance to be runner-up in that race for Bob Baffert. Next Saturday, stakes, we got a lot of them. Gotham, Grade 3 on the road to the Triple Crown. Busher Invitational for fillies. Grade 3 Tom Fool and the Heavenly Prize. We'll have it all for you next weekend. Back on Bally Sports Southern California and San Diego, Sunday at 3 Eastern. But we are back before that on FS2. Friday, 3 Eastern start time. It was Amundsen, 6-year-old debut, finding some of that old form that's made him so successful in the feature at Aqueduct, and the Mary Rose, dominant and really in the form of her life right now, taking the main event in Hot Springs. Hope you enjoyed it and have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Friday on FS2.